tape. I'm Pam Puso, Fox News. The White House still hedging on whether or not recordings exist of private conversations between President Trump and the former FBI director. Fox's John Decker is live at the White House.
The question of the possible existence of a White House recording system has lingered for more than a month since President Trump first raised the possibility in a tweet about James Comey. Now the Secret Service has told the Wall Street Journal that the agency has no audio copies or transcripts of any tapes recorded at the White House. And White House spokesman Sean Spicer was non-committal about the existence of a taping system.
The president made clear in the Rose Garden last week that he would have an announcement shortly.
There is still the possibility that recordings could have been created without the Secret Service's knowledge. Pam?
Thanks, John. We can expect more public testimony on Comey and the Russia probe tomorrow from Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
The president disagreed with and continues to disagree with the fact that Sessions recused himself from the Russia investigation. And now Sessions is going to talk about all of that, plus his meetings with Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador to the United States, and other issues regarding Russia.
Fox's John Roberts at the White House. Another setback for the president's revised travel ban. A federal appeals court panel in Seattle has upheld a decision blocking it from taking effect. The White House believes that ultimately the ban will be upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. A little levity at the White House.
Today I'm truly proud to welcome to the White House our college football playoff national champions, the Clemson Tigers.
President Trump applauding the team for, quote, willing its come-from-behind victory over Alabama. He called the game's finish inspirational. At the closing bell on Wall Street, the Dow down 35 points. Fox News, fair and balanced.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I'm 19 years old, and this is how I live united. I've always been kind of a computer geek, and I found a way to use those skills to help the homeless in my community. For people facing hard times, computer skills and a basic resume are so important. It may seem like a small thing, but it makes a huge difference in people's lives. So with United Way, I created a program where I work with the homeless. Together, we go through their whole job history, write a resume, and then save it on their very own USB drive. We provide workbooks and training certificates. I even budgeted for cupcakes so we can celebrate as a class when one of our people gets a job. That's huge. When somebody says, hey man, that job that you helped me apply for, I got it. That's what living united feels like to me. My name is Dale Pazinski. I help people achieve financial independence. So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
With Washington hyper-focused on Russia, President Trump is trying to change the subject back to his promise of job creation and workplace development. As part of that plan, the White House is spearheading an apprentice program in order to fill jobs that employers can't find qualified candidates for.
Apprenticeships teach skills needed to bridge this skills gap. An apprenticeship combines a paid work component with an educational component. Apprentices earn while they learn.
Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta, it's unclear how much the apprenticeship program would cost. In the hands of a Minnesota jury, the case against a police officer.
St. Anthony police officer Geronimo Yanez is charged with killing Philando Castile last July following a traffic stop in a St. Paul suburb.
Fox's Jeff Manasso in our Midwest Bureau. Castile mentioned he had a gun, and Officer Yanez maintains Castile reached for it. A flurry of complaints from fighter pilots led the Air Force to sideline some aircraft, and that hold continues.
Just days after the Air Force said that it had not grounded but merely temporarily paused air operations for the F-35 jet fighters based at Luke Air Force Base while they investigate half a dozen instances of pilots complaining of hypoxia or lack of oxygen, now the 56th Fighter Wing that oversees the F-35s in Arizona says the pause in flights will continue. Major Rebecca Hayes, a spokesman for Luke Air Force Base, issued a statement, quote, "The safety of our airmen is paramount, and we will take as much time as necessary to ensure their safety."
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. A former Navy flyer is celebrating a big birthday. Former President George H.W. Bush turned 93 today. The former president said to be celebrating with family at his home in Kennebunkport, Maine. Pam Puso, Fox News Radio.
Here's your ESPN Radio 3-day forecast brought to you by Chief Bauer. Trust the experts at Chief Bauer Service Experts to keep you cool all summer long, because it's going to be a hot one. Call 866-EXPERTS or visit them online at chiefbauer.com. Speaking of hot, it's hot today into the night, a low of 74. That's steamy at night.
That's the low.
Tuesday, chance of thunderstorms, high 94, low of 74. Chance of thunderstorms basically every day, including Wednesday, high 93, a low of 73. We could use some of that rain, though. Right now, steamy, sunny, 95, feels like 100 in Champaign-Urbana.
It is the Tay and J Show. Mike Carpenter in for an ailing Lante with Jeremy Warner. It's been a rough couple months for Lante, who had a pretty sterling track record before then.
Yeah, he was doing pretty well. You know, the vacations happen, but it's like at 46, his body's breaking down a little bit.
It's happening.
He's got the pinched nerve, going on. Don't let him play any sports, right? At that age, that's nothing good's going to happen. Even at my age, at 30, like us, it's just not going to happen.
His ailment is stomach related, and I texted him. I said, don't come back until you're better.
Yeah.
That's something.
I don't want you around me with that.
No.
Right? I mean, that's just for the safety of us. And tomorrow we're going to have a short show anyway, which he probably hates that he'd miss.
He loves the short shows.
Right, because we still get paid the same amount, and we just talk for an hour. It's a little bit easier. But no, stay away from Elon until you are healthy. I love you.
Busy weekend for you?
Yeah, I was down in St. Louis on Friday at the Illinois football camp, and then Saturday headed on up to Lake Forest. So it was a busy weekend, a lot of driving in the car, but the Illini football staff is getting after it right now in recruiting, and of course, they need a little bit of momentum. But on my way back from St. Louis, I was listening to the NBA Finals, Game 4, and I didn't expect to listen to it very long, Carp, because I thought the Warriors were just going to take care of business.
Yeah, I did
I
too.
thought the Cavs were going to be like, okay, yeah, we came back from 3-1 last year. But coming back from 3-0 against this Warriors team, I figured, like most of us, they'd just be like, okay, whatever. Just get this over with. They didn't. And they played one of the best single NBA Finals games we've ever seen from a team.
And you know what's frustrating is they played pretty well Game 3. And they should have won Game 3. We would have a great series.
Just imagine. If that's all I could think of that entire Game 4 was, what if they had won Game 3? Like, after they went down 2-0, I thought, get back to Cleveland, you'll be all right. And then with a minute and a half left, the Cavs are leading by about 4, and you still didn't feel safe, and they were playing so well that's what going into tonight. I mean, the Cavs needed one of the best played NBA Finals games ever to beat the Warriors, and they beat them handedly. But still, the Warriors scored 113 points, right? And this team beat the Cavs when I thought they played a phenomenal game in Game 3. There's just so many weapons. They're back at Oracle tonight. I give the Cavs a chance because they have LeBron. Kyrie's amazing. Their role players are playing a little bit better as the series goes along. And the Warriors didn't deal well with pressure last year.
No, they puckered up a little bit.
It's not a lot of pressure into tonight, but there's way more pressure on them than there is the Cavs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why tonight is a little bit interesting. Do I expect the Cavs to win? Not necessarily. They aren't going to be putting up 80 points in the first half, or let alone, 49 in the first quarter, or probably making 24 threes like they did last game.
If the Warriors close it out tonight, how will you remember this series?
I'll remember it as the least eventful NBA playoffs of my lifetime. And the worst case scenario for a league that, let's be honest, it's always been based on super teams. Yeah. In other words, if you look at the list of NBA champions,
I like how people think this is a new thing.
Yeah, it's not a new phenomenon, but it might be more pronounced now simply for the embarrassment of riches that the Warriors have. So if it ends tonight, this sort of anticlimactic 5-game NBA Finals, and then, a month or two from now, we're looking at 2018 and thinking, is it just going to be a repeat of what we just saw?
The ratings have been really good.
Yeah.
Right? There are people complaining out there about this Finals, but it is one of the best quality of play Finals
when
we've
it's
ever
going,
seen.
It is fantastic. And someone had posted last night a video of the Celtics-Lakers in 87. Yeah. And, it was just the opening possession of the game, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he gets blocked, and then they reset the shot clock, and then he gets blocked again and kind of stumbles over himself. And it was such a slow game back then.
It's a different game. And whenever people bring up the 96 Bulls or against this Warriors team, it's impossible. We can't. It's a different game. I don't know if the Warriors would have had success back then because the rules allowed you to body people up. I don't know if Steph Curry's the same player with those rules, but in these rules, this offense is taken over, and they are better at it than anyone we've ever seen. I posted after the Cavs put up 86 on Twitter. I put up the final scores of the Bulls-Jazz series in 97 or 98. I can't remember which one it was.
All in the low 90s.
I mean, the Jazz scored 54 points in one game. But it was a different game.
Really?
Yeah, the rules allowed it to be a different game. Luke Longley is probably not on the Bulls roster in this NBA.
He was pretty slow.
Ron Harper is probably not on the Bulls roster. They probably find a scorer at point guard, right? Or Scottie Pippen is their point guard, just like Giannis Antetokounmpo, right?
Yep.
The Greek Freak is from Milwaukee. Tony Kukoc might have been a superstar in this NBA. So I think we can talk about this and have fun with would they have won? It's a different NBA. The rosters would be different nowadays. And I don't know if the Warriors are as good in the 90s as they are here, but it's just the best collection of offensive talent we've ever seen. And I know some fans are like, oh, they played defense back then. The Warriors play as good at defense as anybody. They didn't the other night. But the Cavs, it feels like the offense is so much better than the defense, and the rules just allow that offense to be way better than we remember in the 90s or 80s or whatever heyday you thought was the best in the NBA.
I think there's a reluctance by a lot of people, and maybe myself included, and especially having been a Bulls fan during their run, that when you look at the Warriors and the dominance that we've seen so far, and yeah, they lost last year, but this is a team that will probably get about 3 or 4 rings. And they're young enough where, who knows, right? I don't think they're going to get 8 like LeBron thought the Heat were going to get back in 2011, but they're going to get some rings, and it could start tonight. I guess they had it 2 years ago, but the Kevin Durant Warriors can start tonight. But I think
I asked Lon this the other day, who ends their career with more rings, Durant or LeBron?
LeBron's at 3.
Right.
And Durant's at 0. I think they end up even.
Yeah.
Because with this Warriors team, I don't know how it's all going to shake out with free agency. Can they keep everybody?
I mean, they are for 3 years.
For 3 more
2
years.
or 3 more years here.
So then it's a situation of can the Spurs mount any? I mean, if they were healthy,
if they signed
Kawhi
Chris
Leonard
Paul,
was healthy,
yeah.
right? But even then, I mean, you look at this Warriors team and look at how deep they are in terms of superstars, at least offensively. But then their team defense is as good as we've seen, at least in the modern day. So we're going to look back on this Warriors team as one of the better teams in NBA history. And I think there is a fear, especially if you grew up watching the Bulls, to acknowledge that fact.
I don't know why. Like, they're different eras. Like, this is the best team I've seen since those Bulls. Like, those Lakers, that first Lakers championship, that was pretty darn close.
Was that the Sixers?
Yeah, when they beat Allen. I mean,
games.
they won 60-something games that year. That team was phenomenal. I think, this Warriors team is as strong, as dominant as any I've seen since the 90s Bulls. I don't know who'd win a series. Like I said, it's a different, but it doesn't threaten that to me. It doesn't. Michael's Bulls, that dynasty, didn't threaten the Lakers dynasty Showtime. It was different, right? They were both great. They were the best of their decade, best of their generation. I know we like to do this compare and contrast, but why can't you just enjoy both?
That's a good point. I think for me, too, enjoying watching the best. And Kevin Durant, Hall of Famer. Steph Curry, Hall of Famer. Klay Thompson, we'll see.
Probably.
On the path for it. Draymond Green, I don't know.
If
James Worthy can make it.
If you win enough championships, Draymond will be in there.
Absolutely. So then I think back to why LeBron, even if you hate him, is so fascinating to watch. And I think it's because whenever one of these superstars emerge, we want to know if they'll end up being the best ever. And he had that placed upon him in 2003, from the minute he stepped in the league.
We're too young for this. Did Jordan have that?
I think early on in the 80s, it was just...
Because he came in as the number 3 pick, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't have sports talk radio as much. It was like an hour on the news station, right? That they would have sports talk for a day. And, he rose... Towards the end of the 80s, people said, is he ever going to win one? The way he plays, is he ever going to win one? Magic and Russell were kind of known as the greats. Kareem, who doesn't get mentioned enough, is one of the greatest players of all time. But LeBron has lived in an age where we're all looking for Kobe. Was one of the first ones, and he embraced it. He wanted to top Jordan, right? That was kind of his career goal, and he's the closest we ever saw come to it. LeBron's, more Magic-like, but ever since, and because of some of the things he's done, he's always had that carry the burden of, is he the greatest ever? Can he be better than Michael? Which seems impossible to ever have to, I don't know if you can ever get that goal, to be better than Michael. Can you be in the same realm? Yes. And I think he's there, if not getting there. But Michael didn't have to even deal with that stuff.
Is it a sort of passing the torch thing? Like, in other words, we watch these sport.
wouldn't it have been Kobe to LeBron?
Yeah, you would think. But, I mean, back when Jordan won his first title, and it happened to be against the Lakers, and it wasn't the best of series. That was the only 5-game series the Bulls had, where after I think they lost game 1, and then they rattled off 4 in a row, and it was the symbolic end of the Magic Larry Bird era.
And the Pistons, right? They went to the Pistons first and then the Lakers.
Yeah, because when the Bulls had beat the Pistons that year, that was the infamous non-handshake thing where the Pistons just walked out. So with LeBron, that's why last year felt so monumental.
Yes.
And why this year with the Warriors winning it feels like, oh, well, that was just kind of the natural order of things. That's just what we expected.
And now we're getting is Kevin Durant better than LeBron, right? It's like we got to move on to that. Well, it's not LeBron anymore. We're always looking for the next thing when it's like sometimes just enjoy it. Enjoy what we're watching here. And the Warriors, I don't love it that the Warriors are winning because Kevin Durant made the right business decision, made the decision that probably made him happiest, and he took less money, a little less money to go there.
He doesn't owe people anything if this was the move that was to make him happiest, and by all accounts it is.
But I would have loved Kevin Durant and the Thunder to beat the Warriors. Like, to do what, Michael did and do what Detroit did in beating Boston. Like, having the natural progression where, they got so close last year to beating the Warriors, this year they do it, and then he's got a chance to go against LeBron kind of head-to-head. But, I get why he made the move he did, and he's got the power to do that. And what we're watching is one of the most fun teams I've ever seen. They play basketball better than any team I've ever. The skill is ridiculous on the court.
And their skill is so prominent that it can be frustrating and suffocating to watch.
It seems unfair.
It does seem unfair.
But, everyone thought, especially after Michael, that the game lost its skill, right? Everyone was trying to be a dunker. It seemed like people said AAU basketball, right? I don't know. AAU basketball seems to have done really well for the sport when you see some of the top players, right? I mean, when we talk about LeBron, of course it's strength and athleticism, but it's skill, right? Steph Curry's all skill. Kevin Durant's 7 foot, but it's all skill with him. I mean, this is a skilled NBA. This is as good a basketball as we've ever seen when it comes to a dribbling, passing, shooting standpoint. And I think defenses are just as good as they were. They're just not allowed to do some of the things they were allowed to do in the 80s and 90s.
I think the frustration, too, now that I've flipped on LeBron from where I was 5 years ago, and I think a lot of people have, when he went back to Cleveland, that's kind of a hard story to root against. And in Game 3...
we've seen a mature guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And unlike Jordan, actually kind of vocal and using that pulpit for social issues and things like that, which, we look back on guys like Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali, and we place them in a higher level, I think, because of that.
He's sending 1,100 kids to college.
Yeah. Kind of a nice thing to do, So, Game 3 was particularly frustrating.
Yes.
Because he was so good, and he's been so good all series, and we're still talking about the Korver pass.
Which was the right move.
I know.
It was totally the right move.
And Bulls fans could say, well, Jordan wouldn't do that.
No,
well,
he would have. He passed the Kerr.
Right.
And Paxson.
So that part's frustrating because you see him playing at such a high level. And I say listen, the Cavs are not without talent. Kyrie Irving's been great this series.
They're a super team, right?
Absolutely. And I think that if you could go back and just switch Game 3, if they would have held on, this would be a 7-game series. Yeah. I would feel confident in that. But tonight is interesting because if they do get the win, I think it is a 7-game series. I do think you see
come back to Cleveland, and that's where the pressure comes in. I want to see that, right? I want to see him come back to Cleveland, and for the Warriors to have to earn it that way, have to earn a game, to not have to go home for Game 7, where Steph hasn't done that well in those moments, right? And we don't talk about that a lot. And Durant, too, because Durant was up 3-1 last year in the Warriors, and him and Ross couldn't close it out at the end of games. So Cleveland's got experience, got some confidence, and they got the best player in the world.
It's the best of both worlds for Cleveland. Here's why. Even though they won last year, and it took them 7 games, and it was a great comeback, coming into this year, they were right back in the underdog role. And I don't know if they would have been called underdogs last year. I think we were all hoping and waiting for that Cavs-Warriors series repeat of what we saw the year before when LeBron and Dellavedova was the second best player statistically on that team, I think. And that we finally got that Cavs win, and yet they can still be the aggressor. They can still be the team that no one thinks is going to win, even though they were the ones that were able to get it last year. So you force a Game 6, you bring it back to Cleveland. That is an environment that it would be, if Kevin Durant and Steph Curry in a Game 6 at Cleveland come out and beat the Cavs by 10, 12 points in impressive fashion, that it's all about legacy building, right? In the eyes of basketball fans, we're waiting to see these stories be written for these superstars, and that would help write it.
Feels like now, because they won last year for LeBron, this one only enhances it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not reliant on what happens here.
No.
This one is just, I mean, he's proven it, right? I think he's proven it at this point. For this Warriors team, you can't be the one that goes down 3-1, loses, and then the first one ever to go down 3-0 and lose. Can you imagine that if that happens?
That would be mentally crippling almost. I mean, think about it. If you're, I don't care how big of a superstar you are, how good of a competitor you are, if that happens 2 years in a row, and if it happened to this extreme after you add Kevin Durant, you're up 3-0, and then you happen to lose it. With the Warriors, I think there's a bit of a stigma, too, because 2 years ago, when they got that first title, I know they ran through the West pretty easily, but then you had LeBron and a cast of nobodies because the Cavs were hurt. And it still took them 6 games, right?
They went up 2-1, the Cavs.
So this is something
LeBron,
the Warriors still have something to prove. But if they get it done tonight, which is still, I think, the greater likelihood, then you can safely put this team among the best ever.
See, we're in Central Illinois, and you and I had enough to talk about with this series that this is why I don't think this is bad for the NBA. Everyone talks about this like, oh, is this good? This is great for the NBA to have a team like the Warriors and have a guy like LeBron going up against them. This is what they've wanted all year. If the Cavs would have won Game 3, it's everything we were hoping for. But now they added at least some intrigue to where we're talking about the NBA for 3 more days. The Warriors get another, 20-something million for hosting a game, and the NBA's hoping it goes back to Cleveland.
Rigged.
So we can see something we've never seen before.
And then we can hear the rigged chance if it does go Game 6. And that's the other thing,
I hope it is, because I'd want to see Game 6 and 7.
If this ends with a whimper tonight and the Warriors just run away with it, and then if next year we get a 4, maybe a 5-game series, and we see the Warriors do it again, then maybe there's a little bit of leeriness that sets in, like, oh my God, every year we're going to have to
as long as they're
deal with this.
competitive. I mean, because the Bulls were doing that, right?
That's true. I mean,
they were going 6 games.
They were going 6. They never won 7. They only won 5 once. I'm trying to think for the Eastern Conference playoffs. I mean, for me, it was fun.
The Pacers in '98.
Yeah, and the Knicks had a team or two that could have beaten the Bulls, and they did when Jordan was gone. But did the rest of the Eastern Conference feel the same way that the Western Conference feels?
Absolutely.
Probably so.
Absolutely. And now we got 2 teams, right? The East and the West seems locked up. We'll see if the Spurs or the Celtics can kind of break that up next year. We have a champion in the NHL. We'll get Harry Black's breakdown of the Penguins winning their 2nd straight cup. First team to do that in 19 years. The Red Wings lasted that in 98 and 99. Illinois basketball hosted another surprise big man over the weekend. We'll give what we have on him. It's not much. He's a European big man. So we'll talk about Matik Vesel. I'm gonna go with that pronunciation. I don't know the Slovenian dialect or pronunciations. Like if it were a French, I'd kind of know how to do it. If it was German, I'd know how to do it.
Eastern European, right?
Yeah, Slovenian I'm not quite sure of.
And they aren't our enemy, but could we maybe do a Know Your Enemy Slovenia? They aren't our enemy.
We
but
could
just
look up a little bit about Slovenia.
Know your
like
fellow country. I don't know.
We'll talk about that. Was that part of Yugoslavia, Slovenia?
Was Yugoslavia a big country, and then it got split up into a bunch of, like, Czech Republic?
Yeah, it was sizably big.
So it was like a region.
Well, that was
almost.
Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
Got switched up into Czech Republic and Slovakia.
You see, I like history, but I have a very passing, like I Wikipedia things,
it's
and then
amazing.
it slips
We think of Europe, and we always think of the big countries, right?
Yeah.
Like Germany, even Poland. We throw in there. Once you get to that Eastern Bloc, like you just kind of what's over there?
I think people could easier place Luxembourg than they could Slovenia.
Yeah, we'll talk about that coming up. Jeff Ellis, Scout.com lead MLB draft analyst, will join us at 4:05. I know none of the teams we cover have top 10 picks this year, but a lot of intrigue with the Cubs who are looking for pitching, and they have 2 top 30 picks. The White Sox have pick 11, and the Cardinals don't pick till 94. So you'll learn a little bit about the MLB draft from Jeff Ellis at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. I'll talk with Robert Rosenthal, Illini board, about all things Illini at 5:15. What he thinks of the start of the Brad Underwood era, what he thinks of Illini football recruiting off to a little bit of a slow start in 2018. And then we'll talk more NBA. Matt Silich, Tay and J NBA expert, will join us at 5:40.
You can always call us on the Jupiters of the Crossing phone line or text us on the Chief Bauer text line. Same number, 359-2255. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Tay and J Show. I tweet at FanboyCarp.
I saw some interesting tweets Saturday getting into it with a listener.
It's
about
exhausting.
Your city draft?
You know
which Nathan won, by the way.
I have a new approach to Twitter, which we can talk about when we get back.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes I do the adversarial thing.
Yes.
It's exhausting.
It is. Sometimes you ruin a day.
A new plan of attack.
Yes.
We can get in that later.
If you want to download the WSJK app, you can listen to us anywhere in the world. Get our podcast at espncu.com or find us on iTunes. That's all powered by GTPS Insurance. Watch us live on YouTube. Just search Tay and J Show. Interns today, Jack Long, Jacob Diaz, Maddie Bunton, David Morrow, and Harry Black. And Harry gave us a gift that we got to show on the YouTube stream here pretty shortly.
Yes. We'll do that, and we'll talk some Twitter in the next segment. It is the Tay and J Show.
Are you looking for a new home or planning to refinance your existing home? Hi, this is Todd Durakan from First Federal Savings Bank of Champaign-Urbana, getting you and your home faster with loan closings in 30 days, mortgage loans, and refinancing that's fast, friendly, and local. We invite you to visit our experienced team of mortgage experts to find out how First Federal Savings Bank can help you with your loan closing in 30 days. For more information, visit 356bank.com. First Federal Savings Bank of Champaign-Urbana. Get what you want out of life. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds, or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores to everyone for free, even if you're not a customer. And checking your score won't hurt your credit. We call it the Discover Credit Scorecard. And once you know your score, you should check to see if your current credit card is the best fit for you. Check your credit, compare your card. Go to discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
Life is full of twists and turns. You can't see the unknown, but you can certainly prepare for it. Pekin Life Insurance Company offers a variety of term and whole life insurance policies that are designed to meet the needs of individuals and their families. Options include transitional life, universal life, preferred whole life, family term life, and many others. Visit PekinInsurance.com or ask your local Pekin Insurance agent about an affordable, beyond the expected life insurance policy that's right for you.
Protecting your home and family, you better have a plan. Keep them safe from harm with the home alarm from F.E. Moran. Home invasions are on the rise all across the land, but they'll think twice when they see the sign for F.E. Moran. Don't wait till it's too late. It's time to make a stand. Call 877-FE Moran. F.E. Moran. Alarm.
Got a question? Talk to our experts at StevieJay.com. Experts are ready to answer your questions for free. Looking for cool trends in clothing or gear as you support area teams? Game Day Spirit is the official fan store of the Fighting Illini. Landscaping tips are also available from Country Arbor's Nursery. New tile or soft surfaces in your home or business? Flooring Surfaces, where the world is at your feet. Experts are available now online at StevieJay.com. Get strong and stay strong at your Champagne Curves. Ladies, rethink your fitness strategy. Let your Curves coach show you the health and beauty benefits that working out offers. For a limited time, new members can join. Get personal instruction and your best body all summer long for just $10. 30-minute cardio, strength training, stretching, and meal planning can get you where you want to be this season. Curves is for women only. At last, feel free to sweat. Curves, when you just want to work out. Located behind Biaggi's in Champaign. Call or go to curves.com today.
Chicago Cubs are going to be in the World Series, and maybe sooner than we think.
It's our trip to Wrigley Field, Chicago. You can join us on Wednesday, July 5th. The Cubbies take on Tampa Bay at 1:20. Our trip to see the world champion Chicago Cubs. Rooftop tickets and motor coach to Chicago. All your food and beverages are included. Pay online or come by the Stevie J Broadcasting Studios to pay by check. All your details at StevieJ.com. StevieJay.com.
If you have nothing to smile about, schedule an appointment today at Angel Smiles Dental Center in Rantoul. Turn your frown upside down and show off those beautiful teeth. We all have unique smiles, and we know what it takes to maintain those smiles. After all, a smile is like a personal signature, whether young or old. Maintaining your beautiful smile has never been easier with a visit to Angel Smiles Dental Center. From fillings, crowns, and root canals to dental implants and braces for kids and adults alike, Angel Smiles Dental Center in Rantoul will serve your entire family for all of your dental needs in all stages of life. Angel Smiles accepts the medical card for most services. For those children 20 and under, they accept a number of insurance plans, and they have an in-house dental plan to help people who have no insurance at all. Angel Smiles Dental Center is waiting to see you. Schedule a visit today at Angel Smiles Dental Center in Rantoul. Visit angelsmilesdentalcenter.com. That's angelsmilesdentalcenter.com or call 892-8868.
Coach Mike Ditka is not just talking sports. What'll he say next? Hear him here Monday and Friday mornings from 7:30 to 8 with Brother Johnny and me, Stevie J, on ESPN Radio 93.5.
Just turned 3:30. I'm Jeremy Warner with your Sports Center update. Life insurance is one of those subjects that make people want to change the subject rather than admit they probably don't have enough. Find out how the benefits of life insurance can live on for your family. Call State Farm agent John Kaywood in Champaign at 217-367-1105. Illinois basketball hosted Slovenian big man Matik Vesel for a visit over the weekend. 6'9", 19-year-old plays for the Slovenian U20 national team. Illinois AD Josh Whitman just tweeted out and announced Natalie Walsh as the new women's gymnastics coach. She last was the coach at Utah State. Tonight, the Warriors have another chance to close out their second NBA championship in 3 years. The Cavs won Game 4 by 21 points to prolong the series. Tip-off at 8 o'clock tonight. With a 2-0 win last night, the Penguins became the first NHL team to win back-to-back titles since the Red Wings in 1999. Vegas' early odds bet on a Penguins three-peat. Penguins lead with 9-1 odds to win the 2018 Stanley Cup. Oilers, Lightning, and Capitals all get 10-1 odds, while the Blackhawks are 12-1 and Blues are 35-1. After losing 3 of 4 to the Rockies, the Cubs look to get back over 500 with the first of 3 against the Mets. John Lackey versus Jacob deGrom. First pitch at 6:10. Hear it on our sister station, US 105.9. White Sox are the worst team in the American League now, and tonight they send Mike Pelfrey against Wade Miley and the Orioles. After sweeping the Phillies, Cardinals had the day off before they host the first-place Brewers tomorrow. MLB Draft starts tonight at 6 o'clock. The Twins select number 1 overall and reportedly are deciding between Louisville two-way player Brendan McKay and high school shortstop Royce Lewis. White Sox draft 11th overall. Cubs select 27th and 30th and are expected to pursue some pitching. Cardinals don't pick until 94th. They gave up the 30th pick for Dexter Fowler, and they forfeited picks 56 and 75 to the Astros for breaching their database.
That's Beck. I'm going to see Beck open for U2 in September.
Solid.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
Kind of guy I'd go see by myself, like if he's just by himself.
Yeah, but as an opener,
that's solid.
Good package deal. Hey, summer is here, and that means pools, picnics, relaxation. Also, the perfect time for a mid-year financial checkup. If you've fallen behind on your goals, Busey can help you get back on track. Here are a few tips from their experts. Rethink big goals. Financial assessments in the Resource Center on Busey.com are great tools. Have you been sticking to your budget? Review and ensure you're not overextending yourself, and make changes if you think you can pay more and cut back if needed. Plan to pay off debt, as swiftly as your cash flow allows. And there is no time like the present to ensure your estate planning wishes are documented. Get creative with new and unique passwords. Visit the Information Security Center on Busey.com for tips to keep your finances secure. Whatever your financial goal, Busey can help. Enjoy your summer free from financial worries. To work towards achieving your financial goals today, visit Busey.com or stop by one of their many convenient locations.
It is the Tay and J Show. He's Mike Carpenter filling in for Lon Tay. We'll talk a little MLB draft at the top of next hour with Jeff Ellis from Scout.com. He's the lead MLB draft analyst. We'll also talk some Illini with Robert Rosenthal at 5:15 and NBA with Matt Silich at 5:40. So Illinois hosts Slovenian big man Matik Vesel this weekend. Thoughts, Cart?
Sure. You know,
that's a great response.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Sure.
I'd like some international flavor on the team. I would also like a big man.
Yes.
Which he is.
He's 6'9". Mm-hmm. He seems really skilled, can move well. This is based on a grainy YouTube video that we've seen, right? The one thing I've always told you, Cart.
I just imagine like Eastern European font and text. And instead of like the usual cool rap song, it's like Eastern European rap, whatever that sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm not, listen, I got Eastern European blood. It's okay for me to joke, right?
I guess. I don't know. I'm not offended by it.
I hope I don't offend any Slovenian listening audience because I offended the entire St. Louis metropolitan area on Friday. So right. I need to check myself.
We'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, I think, when it comes to this, you got to trust the staff's evaluation. But, Carp, I've always told you this. I want John Beilein ball. I think he is one of the best coaches in the country. Is he continually competing for national championships like Coach K and Calipari and all those, Bill Self's even always in the conversation? No. But I love his style of play. I love that he gets the most out of his players, and he finds players who fit his scheme. And one thing he's doing here recently, and one thing Mark Few has been doing for decades, is finding international prospects. It seems like it was kind of like, the Moneyball of college basketball is finding some international prospects, especially big men, because there's so few of them, right? It's the one thing that there's not enough of. And when you talk about skilled big men, Europe has done a really good job of bringing those out. So Antigua has connections, and that's what's paying off. The last staff didn't have as many connections as this one. They were looking towards Canada, couldn't find anybody. They had Ohio and Illinois, and it felt like that was about it. Maybe a little Memphis, a little Indiana. That was about it. Antigua has connections, whether it's New York or Florida, and apparently overseas, because he was the Dominican national team head coach for a while. Well, he has enough connections to find out about this Slovenian center who plays for the Helios Suns in Slovenia and has skill. And they got him here for a visit, probably saw him play a little bit more. And that's creative when you have such a big need. Greggy Boyd Bowden, I think, is he a great addition? I don't know. We'll see. But he fits a big need. He has the skill you want. And maybe this kid does as well. And this is a position of need, a position where they don't look for their superstars at this position. They look for good players who fit their scheme, just like Michigan does with Mo Wagner and DJ Wilson. And I don't think this kid's going to be Mo Wagner. I don't know if George Condit is going to be the guy he gets compared to, DJ Wilson. But the skill is there, the size is there, and I find it intriguing that the staff can find a guy like this.
As someone that was very critical of John Gross, I don't want this to sound like a backhanded, insult. But what is refreshing with how Underwood's going about this roster construction, he's identifying talent that may not be on the top of other people's radars, saying, I want them, and he goes and gets them. And if that's the case here with last name pronunciation,
I guess it could be Vasile, I don't know.
And Ebo, which is a great nickname for Greg. His last name is
Spicy G.
Spicy G.
That's his nickname. Yeah, we learned from Ching Coleman the other day.
Okay.
Spicy G is his nickname.
We will go with Spicy G. I like that a lot.
I like Ebo. I mean, it's quick.
Yeah, Ebo's cool too, but pretty soon you're going to have Io. You're going to have Io and Ebo. So when Io gets down here, you're going to
sounds like a great combo.
So the thing is, though, with Underwood, and from the outset, I think within the first few weekends that they were out on the road, offer here, offer there. We want you. We want you, which is a direct contrast to what we saw with John Gross. Now, there are going to be guys that you have to identify early, and you have to wait. How long do you wait, though? That's the question. And if you cast your net wide enough, maybe if option A isn't there, option B or 1A, 1B, you have them lined up ready to go in case that initial option doesn't really want to come. So this is one example, though, as you said, creative, of identifying a roster need and then looking elsewhere to fill it. And potentially, I don't know what Mo Wagner would have been looked like as far as
how many
still
other teams, skinny, but yeah.
But as far as how many teams wanted Mo Wagner or even knew he existed or thought that, we're going to go overseas or we're going to bring him in and let him work out and see what he could bring to the table. Not saying that this guy's going to be a future first-round pick, but at least they're
Auburn and Virginia
creative.
Had some interest, but Michigan got in early and they got him, right? And they got to commit early. And he ended up being a 4-star prospect, it seems like. But they get in early and they evaluate themselves. And I gotta trust the staff at this point.
At this point, yes.
Right at this point, until we get a bigger sample size of them. And this is a kid this is a guy that's had a lot of success wherever he's been. Stephen F. Austin was dominant at the Southland. Oklahoma State had a nice turnaround there. So it seems like this guy knows what he's looking for.
I don't want to sound like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, which I often do. Even if I don't intend to, my natural inclination is to be...
Because a year or two in, you're drinking the John Gross Kool-Aid, right?
Sure. Yeah, I absolutely was.
Anywhere. Yeah.
But because of the track record so far and because of the respect he has amongst his peers, so far when I'm seeing these very deliberate and... I'm trying to think of other way to describe the way that Underwood's operated so far.
He's been a little stealth. I mean, Ebo was stealth for a while. This one was stealth. And I think this is because, they were looking for a big man. Everybody's looking for a big man to add late in the class, and they don't want to be, swiped from out of them like Francesco Badacci. the word got out a little bit there that Illinois was showing interest, then Virginia gets involved and Virginia lands him. So some staffs want to operate a little more stealth when there's that kind of stuff going on. Now, Desunmu, Horton Tucker, a lot of these big, in-state kids now, I mean, you're not going to be able to hide that. But they seem to be operating pretty stealth right now, and I understand why.
All right, so we got this visitor in today, right?
Well, he just left.
Just left, okay, so it was early.
It was an official visit over the weekend. It was his first official visit. According to Derek Piper, other schools want to get him on campus, but Illinois got him first, so that seems to put them in a good position. Now, if they land him, you have a Boyd Bowden and you have this kid who played a little bit, I think it's professionally. I think they can do that overseas, and he played for the Slovenia national team. I don't expect a big impact from him immediately. You'd probably redshirt one of them, I would imagine, whether it's Vessel or a Boyd Bowden. I think a Boyd Bowden probably is more ready to play at this level, is a little bit more familiar with what's going on around here. But long term, that sets up, you have a little bit of depth there.
Yeah, this is not...
If one of them works out really well, you did your job. Then you add maybe a guy like George Condit to the next class or Darius Days, and then you're in business where you got real depth there. I don't know what this kid's going to be, but you're just adding skill, you're adding length, you're adding depth to a position that you sorely needed.
I saw 2017, and my initial thought is, short-term fix. Or maybe not short-term fix, but immediate help. This may not be that. And Ebo or Spicy G may not be that either. But in terms of roster construction, something that we harped on with Weber, and that in hindsight, you look at a front court that Gross never built up to the same degree as he did his guards and his wings. Now you're at a different place where, yes, this team is going to have front court issues. Those are not solved, at least the way that we traditionally view the front court. And in the Big Ten, you do have guys like Happ, you have Wagner, Ward at Michigan State. There are good big men in the conference, and that will hurt you in certain games. But at least going forward, you feel like you're building some depth in the front court.
Like Vessel, I'm not considering a huge impact if they land him next year. I'm not thinking about next year. As much as getting to a tournament would really help you, this isn't about that. Boyd Bowden really isn't about that, though I think they're going to count on him to play 10, 12 minutes a game. I mean, next year, you're just going to give up a lot in the post defensively. That's why your guards have to be so good next year.
Yeah. We had some fun on Friday's show because you were going to St. Louis on Friday and then Chicago on Saturday for these Illini recruiting camps. Yeah. And it was me, Austin, Harry, Nathan, and Trevor and Brandon. So we had 6 of us for a city draft, which is a lot of fun.
Because you and I got into a tongue-in-cheek debate.
Yes. It's hard to denote.
I think you and I know what we're doing when we're on Twitter, because I just poke you with There Will Be Blood, and you poke me with Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight Rises,
and I get it. It's fun for us.
Yeah.
But people thought I think Lon thought we were being serious about how much we were arguing, and then we got into a Boston, New York thing.
No, the Boston, New York thing started and then it led into Dark Knight Rises or There Will Be Blood. And I used the term meandering exposition.
You just went full carp.
So we did the city draft on Friday. A lot of fun. And Nathan, at least we thought, was the runaway winner.
Yes, I looked at that list. I thought Nathan crushed it.
Yeah.
I think you did well. I think Austin did well. I'm sorry, Harry. You just ruined that draft.
Can we get Harry on to defend his picks real quick?
Yeah, because he started off with Philly. Now, Philly, I've been to.
It's got character to it.
I enjoyed the history of it. I loved going to the art museum. That was cool with the Rocky steps. Not great.
Okay.
That's not a first-round pick.
Harry, defend your number 1 pick.
Why are we still talking about this?
Just clarification.
I thought I had gotten out of Friday with enough damage.
Yeah, some Twitter guy made fun of his penmanship.
Then the hometown Orlando. That was a biased pick. You fell in love with a pick.
Good amusement parks, though.
And you went,
and it is beautiful and it's warm. So I like the Orlando pick.
4th rounder at best.
Dallas was 3rd. Atlanta was 4th.
Stop right there.
Commuter cities.
Don't you dare.
What, the last one?
I would pick it again.
He would pick Buffalo again.
I thought the 5th pick might have been the best pick.
I'm defending my first round pick, and I'm surprised that you're asking me to, because I would have picked Philadelphia first round no matter what. Unless the only time I probably wouldn't is if New York slipped there, and that was just because that would probably be a value pick.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm from Philadelphia originally. I was worried that it wouldn't be there if I had to wait another 5 picks. Maybe who else would have? Brandon or Trevor might have taken it in the second round.
I think you let your bias Get in front of your evaluations here.
Philadelphia is the 5th highest populated city in the country.
That doesn't mean anything.
Now, and speaking of
Houston's 4th.
Exactly, Houston.
I'm not taking Houston.
A notable omission, Houston. No, Harry, it was a lot of fun. I just feel bad. Harry got a lot of grief, but he takes it in stride. He's a good sport about it.
You got grief for something else. Thank you, Harry. We'll get to your Stanley Cup talk in a little bit later.
Grief. Well, because Austin and I had a little fun at the top of the show. Because St. Louis, the Cardinals organization, had the press conference that wasn't.
Yeah.
Right. And
did you think they were? I didn't think they were firing.
No, but it seemed like
I get why they did it because there were 3 moves there,
and hey, they swept the weekend series.
Yeah, I got it because Johnny Peralta's a big name. They DFA him. Mm-hmm. Maloney gets fired, and they just had a 7-game road trip where they got swept. So I think Mozeliak wanted to be out there and be accountable, and I thought he did well in his press conference. He said, "Hey, even me, I'm on the hot seat, whatever it is." But yeah, I don't know many other cities where there's a big press conference set up for that. But
no, and you know what?
It's the Cardinals. It's like the Bears.
You made the Bears point. I think that's apt because Ryan Pace would be having one for any sort of roster move, and there'd be insatiable need for some Bears fans to hear about it.
At least that big a one.
So the St. Louis thing, and I'll just reiterate what my main point is. Okay, it's not about the people that live in St. Louis because great people live in St. Louis.
There are parts of St. Louis that are great.
Yes, and their fans, listen, they are a terrific fan base.
Yes.
And I know there's the tongue-in-cheek best fans of baseball. No, they're one of the better fan bases in baseball.
Yes.
I will give them that for sure. My big point was, I don't think it's a great city.
It's a very violent city.
It is, numerically speaking.
Number 1 in the country.
Per
violence.
capita, right. And so my point was, I go to St. Louis for an event, right? It could be a sporting event or it's going to be a concert.
Yes.
And I go there for that, and then the next day I leave.
You could spend a long time in Chicago, even though they have violence, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot to do in that city where you could spend a lot of time in.
Yeah, so that was my main point. And I got a tweet from a really good listener, Dave, who's it's fun to converse with him on Twitter. And he said, you got a lot of St. Louis people listening. I don't know if that was such a good idea.
You're kind of a pseudo Cubs fan, so you're poking the bear.
Hold on. You know when the Cubs fandom, when it just went away, was that weekend series with the Yankees and the Cubs, and the Yankees were trailing in the 9th, and I really hated the Cubs at that point. And then the Yankees came back and won. I was like, that's right, restoring order. And like the Cubs, they can do what they want. It doesn't bother me.
But you got into the Twitter debate.
Yeah.
Which, how much time did that take up of your Saturday?
Too much. If it was 5 minutes, it was too much. And it wasn't with Dave, because Dave's a great listener. It's always fun to converse with him. But it was another one whose moniker is Pissed Off Chief. So, yellow flag at least.
Yes.
And here's what I did. I've never blocked anyone.
Yeah. I've started to.
I've never muted anybody.
I do that a lot now.
So here's my thought and my new approach. Because I actually, and I don't know if I exude this over my 140-character tweets or not, very rarely does a tweet fire me up or blah, blah, blah. And I think I try to, the way I word things, say, I'm not really worked up
and
about
yours is a very personal account.
Yeah.
Right.
So with this case, I did something I've never done before.
What'd you do?
I muted an account. Here's why. I like conversations. I like dissenting opinions.
Yes.
I like people calling me out when I would knowingly admit.
Getting into conversations.
Yes.
We've learned we should probably do that more, right?
Because God knows that I will say things based on emotion and not fact. And I try to acknowledge when I do that, but it happens. So, in this particular case, it was a conversation going nowhere. It was someone that thought they were playing a game of gotcha.
Yeah.
I got carp angry. I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm
He's trolling.
Yeah, I'm just watching Fixer Upper with the fiance, and we're having a lovely Saturday morning. So that was the new thing. I'm going to.
Is that when you know you're domesticated, when you're watching Fixer Upper on a Saturday morning?
That or Pioneer
Woman? Because that
happens
happens with me so often.
Do you ever watch Food Network?
Tiff puts it on.
Okay.
I usually have sports or a movie on.
Because Pioneer Woman is this lovely lady on Food Network, and she makes everything with gravy, and everything is fried. So the first time I ever saw it, she's like, the boys are having a sleepover out in the cabin, and I'm making fried steak sticks and gravy. I'm like, well, that's probably not good, because they're growing boys. They need actual nutrition, not this disgusting crap you're making them. But I watch it. And she's a lovely lady. I make fun of her, and Kara's not always fond of that, but it's with love.
Yes.
Pioneer Woman's good.
It's part of being married.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, listen, HGTV, at least Fixer Upper, good show. And Food Network, there's something about watching food on a high-definition television. It's just very sensory.
See, for me, I just can't put enough time into making that food, so it just frustrates me.
Yeah, so it's either those two shows or Game of Thrones, which we've been just
I agree with you. I've learned that I wasted way too much time. Now, I still will get into some debates every once in a while when I have time to do it. But if I find myself getting way too frustrated, way too consumed with it, I just turn away from it.
You know what? I don't
get away from it.
If there was a running tally, I don't want at the end of my life when people gather for the memorial service, and if things were just kind of itemized, and it said you spent 10 hours of your life. 10 hours of your life in Twitter tiffs, other than the David Thiessen one. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. I'd do that all over again.
Those are fun. I don't mind dropping a grenade every once in a while where I'll quote tweet somebody.
I do that all the time.
Make a comment, be like, oh, okay then, and let everyone else go after them and spend their time.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that so that they have to deal with those people tweeting at them the rest of their night.
But you know what? I think we still handle Twitter better than a particularly well-known figure.
Some people.
Yeah, than some people.
If you want to weigh in, 359-2255, that's 217-359-2255. We will get Harry Black's breakdown of the Penguins winning their second straight cup. Coming up next.
It is the Tay and J Show.
Get strong and stay strong at your Champagne Curves. Ladies, rethink your fitness strategy. Let your Curves coach show you the health and beauty benefits that working out offers. For a limited time, new members can join. Get personal instruction and your best body all summer long for just $10. 30-minute cardio, strength training, stretching, and meal planning can get you where you want to be this season. Curves is for women only. At last, feel free to sweat. Curves, when you just want to work out. Located behind Biaggi's in Champaign. Call or go to curves.com today.
Chicago Cubs are going to be in the World Series, and maybe sooner than we think.
It's our trip to Wrigley Field, Chicago. You can join us on Wednesday, July 5th. The Cubbies take on Tampa Bay at 1:20. Our trip to see the world champion Chicago Cubs. Rooftop tickets and motor coach to Chicago. All your food and beverages are included. Pay online or come by the Stevie J Broadcasting Studios to pay by check. All your details at StevieJ.com. StevieJay.com.
Carpenters Local 243 in Champaign, Illinois wants to thank the contractors, developers, and business owners who utilize the skills and services of union carpenters on their projects. Carpenters Local 243 members are part of the world's highest skilled, most productive workforce. Members and contractors are committed to apprenticeship training and an ongoing journeyman skill advancement program. This provides the labor resources to ensure projects are completed. For a list of responsible contractors, call Carpenters Local 243 at 356-5463.
The official fan store of the Fighting Illini is moving. Game Day Spirit, currently located at 1422 South Neal Street, is moving to the corner of Neal and Kirby in Champaign this July. In the meantime, they're preparing for the lowest prices of the season to be available during their moving sale in June. Stay tuned for more information and follow them on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram by searching Game Day Spirit. Stay in the know of all things Game Day and all things Fighting Illini with Game Day Spirit, the official fan store of the Fighting Illini.
Napa know-how. When you buy AC Pro refrigerant at Napa for $33.99, it comes with a pressure gauge, quick connect hose, and refrigerant to make just about any car cool again. Old cars, new cars, brown cars, even cars with hand crank windows. If it has 4 wheels and an air conditioner, AC Pro refrigerant for $33.99 can make your car cool. Literally. That's Napa know-how. Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Offer expires 6/30/17.
When you're heading home, Tay and J are on your way talking sports. Weekday afternoons 3 to 6 here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
Tay and J Show, Mike Carpenter with Jeremy Warner. Tay, getting better, having that milk of magnesia. He should be back tomorrow for the shortened show. Maybe. We'll see.
We're going to restart the DPDO office hookup. We're going to do it later this next hour, actually.
Yeah, around 4:30.
Throughout the summer, DPDO is hooking you up and your office with a catered lunch of calzone, salad, and fresh baked cookies for up to 25 people. It's this easy. You just text us later on when we ask for it with your name, office, how many people you work with, along with your office and number of people, and we'll select one winner each week through August 7th So if you don't win today, keep texting every Monday, and DPDO could hook up your office with a catered lunch up to 25 people. I was at the DMV this spring, Carp, and they had won it, and they were like, it was the greatest.
DPDO was fantastic. And
you'll win office points
and
if
even
you
if
win this.
Even if you don't win this, it's summertime, so the whole campus thing, that bubble that we usually place around it when students are there, no. It's easy to go over there, grab a calzone, great for lunch or dinner, and they deliver.
So the Penguins do it. The Blackhawks tried so many times, couldn't end up being the team that repeats, but the Penguins do it for the first time in 19 years in the NHL. We got our NHL expert, and he's going to be our Matt Silich of the NHL for the later. Matt was an intern for us. Now he comes on and breaks down the NBA. Harry Black, former football player at Illinois, now an NHL expert. What'd you think the Penguins wrapping it up last night, Harry?
I thought that this series was a bit of a letdown because each game leading up to last night wasn't a close game. I thought the series was going to go 6 or 7. Beginning of the series, I was saying 6. Then as it got further, I thought last night it was going to go 7. I thought the Predators wouldn't take that game last night the further along it went. But Hornquist puts away that goal late, and it was a great game last night. For how much of a letdown I thought the series was, last night was an amazing game between two red-hot goaltenders. Everyone's talking about Pecorine and how great he's been doing at home and how he's going to rebound. No one was really saying how Matt Murray, for the last 7 periods after last night, did not allow a goal.
Yeah.
Two straight shutouts to end the season.
Yeah, pretty amazing run by Nashville, but what made Pittsburgh just the team?
Pittsburgh, they've been here before. Nashville they might have been a little bit more satisfied with having gotten there. The Penguins knew what it takes. Last night, they were that team who thought, we don't want to take this team to a Game 7 where anything can happen. We want to wrap it up right now. And I know that sounds kind of stupid to say it like that, but because you think, well, you want to win all your games. But they didn't want to give this team a 50-50 shot, even though in Nashville or Smashville, they had been basically unbeatable.
Yeah. What's this mean for, we always talk about legacy in the NBA, Harry. What's this mean for Sid? He's got 3 now.
He's going to go down as one of the all-time greats.
The best of his generation.
He's the best player of the last 20 years by far. And people can argue with Ovechkin. He has no rings. People can argue with Tays having 3 rings. He's not the same kind of player as Crosby. Crosby makes everyone around him better. And I hate saying this as a Flyers fan, but he is the best player of the last 20 years. He's the best player of our generation. Having said that, he should not have been the MVP of these playoffs.
No.
And he was given the MVP for the 2nd straight year, and I didn't think he should have won it last year. I think this year it should have been Gensel because he led the playoffs with goals scored. Malkin led the NHL with total points. And then I was a little iffy on if Murray should because he had shut out the Predators in the last 2 games because he hadn't played half the playoffs, but I thought maybe it should have been a group between him and Marc-Andre Fleury because it's the entire playoffs, but I don't think he should have been the MVP. He was a great player. He is a great player, not the MVP of this series.
Thank you, Harry Black. Carp, if I had to ask you, which league has had the most parity over this millennium since 2000?
NHL, right? Just by design?
No, NHL has 10 different teams that have won.
Oh, Major League Baseball.
Baseball has had 11.
Okay.
So, after the Yankees happened, the revenue sharing has worked. Baseball, for a while, we thought there's not enough parity. There is definitely enough. There's 11. NFL, 10 different teams have won. NBA, this millennium, 8 different teams have won.
All right. Coming up next hour, we do have the DPDO office hookup at about 4:25. But to lead things off, Jeff Ellis from Scout.com. He is the lead MLB draft analyst, and that is tonight?
Yeah, starts tonight.
The MLB draft always sneaks up on me.
Yeah.
We'll do that next. It is the Tay and J Show. Going on 5 years, Rock's Place in St. Joseph has become the neighborhood sports bar and grill for a lot of folks in the area. Rock's Place is known for their delicious burgers, and they also have great daily food and drink specials. Plus, Rock's has plenty of TVs, so you can keep tabs on the Cubs and Cardinals all summer long. And while you're there, press your luck on one of Melody Music's video gaming machines. For delicious food, cold drinks, and good company, make it Rock's Place, 101 North Main Street in St. Joseph. Find them on Facebook, ROCHS in St. Joseph.
Hey, what are we doing for your birthday party this summer? Well, I was hoping to have a cookout like last summer. What? Don't you remember all those mosquito bites we got last year?
Good news, girls. Not only is Prairie View taking care of everyone's dandelions, now I'm going to take care of all the mosquitoes, too.
Yay!
Enjoy a bug-free summer. For all your mosquito control needs, call Lindy at Prairie View Landscaping and Turf Management at 355-9422. That's 355-9422 for mosquito control from Prairie View Landscaping.
You already know Houlihan's Restaurant and Bar at the iHotel is a great restaurant, but don't forget about the bar. Fantastic drink specials and mouth-watering menu items from snacks to full meals. A nice selection of draft, craft, and domestic beers, and just about any cocktail you can imagine. Watch a game with multiple flat screens on all sides of the bar, or grab some tables and make it a party. Drink specials daily, plus Houlihan's is now serving a delicious hot breakfast 7 days a week. Houlihan's at the iHotel. Check them out at the corner of 1st Street and St. Mary's Road, just south of the State Farm Center.
Tolono Fun Day starts June 23rd on Friday with the 5K run and walk and kids dash with help from Busey Bank Tolono. Be a part of the Tolono Twilight Track, then the free family movie in the park with Mohana, including free popcorn thanks to Tolono Monocles. All day, June 24th, Tolono has festivities to the Boom Boom Boys do their fireworks show at 9:15 on June 24th, sponsored by Brian's Buildings in Tolono. Support the Tolono Fun Day Festival by getting your golf cart raffle ticket thanks to Battery Specialist plus Golf Cars. Facebook has all the details. Just search Tolono Fun Day.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Live from New York, The Fox Report.
I'm Pam Puso. The sexual assault case against comedian Bill Cosby is about to be placed in the hands of a Pennsylvania jury. Fox's Gernal Scott has more live.
And Pam, the judge in Cosby's trial is letting the jury decide how long or even if they want to keep at it today. In his closing, prosecutor Kevin Steele focused on Cosby's words from a prior deposition, how he admitted a history of using Quaaludes to relax women and referred to himself as a dirty old man in a call with the mother of Andrea Constant, the accuser in the case. Steele also says Cosby took consent from Constant when the drugs she was allegedly given took effect. Cosby's defense still says it was a consensual relationship and that Constant's story has been inconsistent. Deliberation should begin after jury instructions are given, Pam.
Thanks, Gernal. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is preparing for a public grilling tomorrow before the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Sessions will likely face questions about his contacts with Russian officials, as well as his involvement in the decision to fire former FBI boss James Comey. Sessions, who recused himself from the Russia probe, said during his confirmation hearing that he did not have contact with the Russians.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland, the Attorney General, later disclosed meetings with Russia's ambassador. Something said on social media by President Trump comes back to bite him as another federal appeals court stomps on his revised travel ban.
In its opinion today, the Ninth Circuit cited a presidential tweet from June 5th to bolster its case. That tweet read, quote, "That's right, we need a travel ban for certain dangerous countries, not some politically correct term that won't help us protect our people."
Fox's Doug McElway, the White House confident the ban will be upheld by the Supreme Court. On Wall Street, the Dow falling 36 points. This is the Fox Report. Fair and balanced.
Listen, my life changed because someone was there to get me to use drugs. No one can understand. Whether or not they've struggled with addiction themselves, people seem to think that having someone who will listen is going to help make it better. I'm realizing that I need help.
I'm listening.
I need help. I'm realizing that I think that having someone who will listen is going to help make it better. Whether or not they've struggled with addiction themselves, people seem to understand. No one can get me to use drugs. My life changed because someone was there to listen.
1 in 7 Americans will struggle with addiction during their lifetime. Want to know how you can help? Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to help turn addiction around. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
More work for the legal eagles who work for President Trump as a pair of Democratic attorneys general sue him. They say he's violating the Constitution.
The suit by the attorneys general in the nation's capital and Maryland claims that President Trump's decision to retain ownership of his real estate empire violates the emoluments clause, which bars federal officials from accepting payments from foreign interests without congressional approval.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. The White House calls the suit nothing more than a partisan political attack. Another push to update the nation's tax policy.
It has been over 30 years, too long, since we have had comprehensive tax reform in this country. We are committed to changing that.
Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin testifying before a House Appropriations Subcommittee. Mnuchin also believes 3% annual economic growth is achievable once the president's agenda is put in place. The finals for the America's Cup are set. The U.S. will take on New Zealand, the Kiwis beating Sweden for the right to challenge the defending champs. Alarming news about a global problem.
A new report says 10% of the world's population is overweight, and that includes rich and poor nations, with many gains occurring faster in children than adults. The study published by the New England Journal of Medicine was done by researchers at the University of Washington. It looked at nearly 200 countries, finding that obesity rates at least doubled in 73 of them, suggesting that diabetes, among other health issues, will keep rising. The experts think one cause of the bulging problem is the growing availability of inexpensive packaged foods with little nutritional value. Pat O'Neill, Fox News.
While we're on the subject, President Trump just releasing a statement on Men's Health Week. The president encouraging guys to prioritize their health and learn more about what they can do to live healthy lives. In New York, Pam Puso, Fox News Radio.
Wrong one.
Oh, hey.
There we go.
Here's your ESPN Radio 3-day forecast brought to you by Chief Bauer. Keep this number because it's hot out and if your AC breaks, the experts can help you. 866-EXPERTS or visit them online at chiefbauer.com. Tonight, clear, a low of 74 degrees. Tomorrow, high 93, chance of thunderstorms. Hopefully it rains. A low of 73. On Wednesday, high 94, chance of thunderstorms, a low of 72. Right now, hot, 95 degrees, feels like 100 in Champaign-Urbana.
It is the Tay and J Show. Mike Carpenter in for Lante. Jeremy Warner alongside. We are on the YouTube streaming app right now, and if you're watching, or if you aren't, many aren't, we have a brand new jersey to hang in the studio.
Yeah, Harry Black, we asked him, and I don't know why we don't ask more people for their jerseys and more people for their stuff that we can hang up in the studio. But Harry Black, a former Illinois offensive lineman, donated to us an Illinois jersey. An orange, the rebrand, the orange jersey. Actually, the football jerseys look pretty sweet. By the way, Ryan Russillo and the Russillo Show had the gray ghost helmet out today on their thing. So
Yes.
I tweeted that out earlier.
One of the sharper alternate jerseys in college football.
Some people hate them, but the players love them. Mm-hmm. So that's what matters. But Harry signed, autographed, and he lent us his Illinois orange jersey. So we're going to hang this up proudly and prominently in the Tay and J studios.
And they really did hit those football jerseys with the rebrand.
Yeah.
They look great, and we got the orange one, no less, so it really pops in the studio. We will find a nice space for that.
That and the soccer, really well done with the rebrand.
Mm-hmm.
The baseball, I didn't like originally. The numbers are in a weird spot.
Yeah, and I think we talked
the
about
basketball,
this before. The font. Yeah, I don't know. We could have done better, I think. Hey, it's time to head to the Jupiters of the Crossing phone line because it is, after all, the Major League Baseball draft, which is something that we tend to forget in the mix of...
We've actually talked about it a lot here recently because the Cubs have had a bunch of high picks coming up to the last couple of years, and then the White Sox have been drafting very high. None of those teams have high picks, but we'll get you a little bit ready because the Cubs have 2 first-round draft picks. The White Sox have number 11. Let's get to the Jupiters of the Crossing phone line. Talk with Jeff Ellis, Scout.com, lead MLB draft analyst. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's always a fun day when it's draft day.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit, just generally, this draft. How is it stocked with talent?
Hunter Green at the top is a special kid. I think whoever gets him has a legitimate potential ace type upside arm. I'm one of those people who thinks there's like 10 to 12 of those guys in general. So I don't often say number one potential, but I think he has that. After him, I feel like there's a bit of a step down. I mean, there's still a lot of really good talent, and I think it's a very deep draft in general. But he's one of those guys I think you can kind of almost put that generational tag on in terms of what he has. And then while everyone else is good, and there's a lot of guys with some high ceiling, it's more guys who look good or have some inconsistencies there for the next few spots.
What would be the Twins' reluctance in selecting him number one?
I think it comes down to money. That's the only thing that would make sense to me. He's let it be known for a while he's probably not going to be cheap to sign, and he probably shouldn't be. And they seem to be looking from the beginning, talking with guys about underslot deals, seeing how much they can save, maybe hoping instead of getting one guy that they can get 3 to 4. So I think it just comes down to that they are trying to spread it around a bit more.
So the White Sox pick at number 11. They're probably hoping one of the top talents slips out of the top 10. Who do you think that could be, or who do you think fits for the White Sox at 11?
Right now, what I'm hearing from them is they like Austin Beck, the prep outfielder, is one of the guys that I don't think will get there. I've also heard either of either the Virginia kids, Smith or Hazley. I think Smith has a better chance to slide than Hazley. The guy who could get there is J.B. Bukauskas, the UNC pitcher. 2+ pitches, the slider and the fastball, upper 90s velocity. The big problem there is he's 6 feet, maybe 6'1", but he's also incredibly young. He won't turn 21 until October, which is very unusual. He reclassified as a high school junior to a high school senior. So he's, if he was 6'3" instead of 6 feet even, he's a top 3 pick, likely in strong contention for the number 1 overall pick.
Jeff Ellis, Scout.com, lead MLB draft analyst, has his latest mock draft up at Scout.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Jeff MLB Draft. The Cubs pick 27th, and they have the 30th pick because of the Dexter Fowler compensation there. So what do you? I mean, the Cubs obviously need a lot of pitching in their system. They spent a lot of picks on pitching last year. How do you think the draft board shakes out for them in regards to pitching depth?
It's a good place to be in terms of the pitching with those picks there. We have a bunch of names that are kind of sliding around, slotted. Part of what's going to happen is how comfortable teams feel about Griffin Canning, who was looking like a top 20 guy, and then his MRI showed some issue. I don't think it's quite as big of a deal. A lot of these college kids don't pitch a lot of innings once they're drafted anyways because they've already put in a high amount of innings. So even if he does require surgery, he's not going to pitch more than 20 innings in the minors this year anyways. So if he gets that surgery done now, you have him back by next year. And while it's not always 100% that everyone comes back, it's still a very high percentage. And you look at a guy who is the top 20 pick for sure. It's kind of the same situation we see with Clark Schmidt, the South Carolina arm. Both of them were undersized righties as a bonus too. But those guys should be around. It's looking more and more around there. You've got Tanner Houck from Missouri, whose stuff kind of took a step back after being considered a top 10 pick. I saw him in person, and he was a guy that was reported to be kind of mid-90s and hit 97, and the highest I saw him in that game I went to was 94. The other arms we're kind of looking at in that range, Alex Lang from LSU. The wild card might be Nate Pearson, the JUCO kid who's 6'6", 240 pounds and has hit 102. I don't know if he really has a reliable secondary pitch, but if you just want to dream on potential, he's kind of an interesting name to look at there.
Jeff, how difficult is it to swallow and evaluate this many draft prospects for MLB? I mean, you talk about the NFL, there's a lot of players, of course. NBA is a little bit easier. NHL, probably more like the MLB, but how difficult is it to evaluate so many prospects, and how does that affect the MLB draft?
Someone like me, it's really difficult, and it's kind of why there's some groupthink or some sharing of information sometimes, just because just knowing who to look for is sometimes half the battle with this. Organizations have so many guys. You've got your area scouts and your cross-checkers, and they're trying to stay on the ball, and then some of them do develop good relationships with people on media because then it's like they can get all that extra information or get, hip to a kid who might be flying under the radar that way. It can be difficult, and I can say I'm someone who likes to use numbers a lot in evaluation, and you can't really do it so much with the high school kids, right. So then you have to try to find video or talk to people you trust. It's different. It's a 40-round draft. and there's going to be over 1,000 players taken, and I don't think any other draft approaches that.
You know, Jeff, and another unique thing about the MLB draft is that it takes place in the middle of the season, so we have all these storylines on the field. Are there teams that are currently contenders right now that find themselves in a really good position for the draft with a lot of picks in the first 100, or and how much does that?
Not the Cardinals.
Not the Cardinals. I know they're pretty far late in that, but would that maybe change a team's strategy in terms of I'm going to go for a more college graduate as opposed to a project if they're on the cusp of contending?
Teams tend to keep to a consistent approach. They're the conservative teams, and then the other teams will look for ceiling. Occasionally, you do see a team grab a college reliever with the thought that they can come right in and help, but that doesn't always work. You can look at like the Minnesota Twins when they took. I always reverse the Birdie brothers. They took the elder brother, and he was supposed to be a guy who could pitch in the majors that year. It's been 3 years later, and he's had injuries, and he still hasn't even made it to the majors. So it's kind of risky when you grab that guy. I think in a lot of cases, if you wanted someone to help you this year, someone like Bukauskas would be your best bet, because he does have 2 pitches that I think would register as at least above average right now. You're looking, I think more and more we see that if you want someone to help towards the end of the season, you probably want to get a college starter with 2 advanced pitches, and then hope to stretch him out the next year. Occasionally you do see a team switch. Kansas City is an example where they did a lot of prep players, and then as those prep players got closer, they started to take a few more college guys. The unfortunate thing for Kansas City was that none of those college guys really worked out. Christopher Colon ended up scoring an important run for them, but not a whole bunch else there, and Kyle Zimmer's never stayed healthy. So it's just about sticking true to your board more often than not, and seeing what's there. It feels like when teams take that guy hoping he's going to be a super quick mover, and that's the primary reason for taking him, that it just doesn't turn out well.
Jeff, last one for you. We appreciate your time. Jeff Ellis from Scout.com. NFL had just made the draft into a huge production, and obviously the college game is so big in this country. NBA has done it as well over the last couple of decades. How has MLB done with, kind of promoting the MLB draft as more an event?
It's hard because most of these guys no one knows about. I mean, the college baseball game is growing. It's getting a lot more attention than it used to, and that helps. I think from my personal perspective, one of the biggest problems right now when I watch the draft is that they don't have necessarily the right people always front and center talking. Yeah. Every year I get a bunch of tweets from people asking me about Harold Reynolds' statements because they make it sound like he's going to help a team in June or July when, it's 2 to 3 years out. Like, Jim Callis is great. Mayo is great. When they have Manuel on there, there's so many amazing writers out there, and they do have that relationship with Baseball America, but they should really take advantage of it. Having John Hart makes sense. He's a former GM, even if his drafting history was frankly putrid in his time with the Indians. At least he's someone who knows what he's talking about. And I think they need to get that combination of guys that know what they're talking about and, do what they can to partner with the college game and continue to see that grow. Because until people care to see where their favorite players are going, there's just not going to be as much interest, because whoever you're drafting is very likely to not help a team for a few years.
MLB Draft starts tonight. Follow Jeff Ellis, Scout.com lead MLB Draft analyst, at Jeff MLB Draft for the latest insight and information. Jeff, we appreciate your insight, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, good stuff with Jeff. I know the MLB Draft. I mean, most of us don't know anything about it. That's why I wanted to get Jeff on, just give us a little bit of information. But for the White Sox, it's another chance for them, Carp, to add another decent talent. I don't think Luis Robert was huge because he probably would have been a top 5 pick. I don't know if you're going to get that kind of talent, but it's another chance to load up as you're rebuilding. And for the Cubs, I don't know if they're going to find anybody who's going to help now, but they're going to need pitching in the next couple of years. I think they took, 9 out of their first 10 picks last year were pitchers. Mm-hmm. I would imagine 2 of their first 3 got to be pitchers tonight.
Yeah, and the frustrating thing about the MLB draft compared to others, is that immediate help. And he'd referenced that if you're drafting for immediate help, you often get bit by that. And these are projects. Even the guys that come out of college, it will take a few years for them to be major league ready, in most cases at least. So that's where I think that detachment from a casual fan to the MLB draft, you aren't going to see these guys for a while. And for me and a lot of other people, they look at the minor leagues and they'll see a ranking. Oh, my team has the 5th best minor league system. And then they'll just kind of take that as whatever and move on. It's very difficult with the sheer number of players to stay or even get invested.
It's so far away. It's more like hockey.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, hockey, most of those guys are going to take a couple years, unless you have a Patrick Kane, unless you have a Jonathan Tays or, Sid Crosby. I mean, most of those guys are going to take time to develop. So it's more like, oh, okay, they added that to their minor league system. Let's see in 2 or 3 years how they end up panning out. And with Major League Baseball, I mean, even the top of the draft, I mean, the number 1 draft picks, I mean, there are so many busts there, over the last couple of years. I think Griffey was the first number 1 draft pick ever to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That tells you a little bit about MLB and how much of a kind of crapshoot it is at times. I mean, recently they've done a lot better job of it. Alex Rodriguez was a number 1 pick in 93. Chipper Jones will join the Hall of Fame in a couple of years. He was the number 1 pick in 1990. Josh Hamilton took a while to get there. Yeah. Adrian Gonzalez, Joe Mauer, Justin Upton, David Price, Strasburg, Bryce Harper, Garrett Cole.
Good names.
Carlos Correa, it was a number 1 pick. So obviously there's a lot of talent, but then there's guys like, Brian Bullington and Delman Young and Matt Bush, who went to jail.
Delman Young. He had weight problems, right?
Yeah, he did.
For the Tigers.
Mark Appel, the Astros took over Chris Bryant.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a crapshoot. And the money factor involved in all of it. Right? In the NFL now, it's just you're slotted. NBA, you're slotted. MLB, it's you might cheapen up on your top pick so you can spend more on your second round pick.
Yeah, and that's where the Hunter
Green,
who the story of him, and I need to go back and read the SI cover story that they had recently about him, and that reluctance. I mean, you and I are looking at each other thinking, well, why would that not be the surefire number 1 pick?
Yeah.
But if you're Minnesota, middle market team, small market team compared to others at least, budget is a concern. So if they go after him and he happens to be a bust, that's tens of millions of dollars just gone.
Yeah.
And they cannot afford that.
And what's interesting is 2 of the top players in the draft, Brendan McKay of Louisville and Hunter Green, they're 2-way players. So it's interesting how those guys are continuing to be.
It's like Brendan Fraser in The Scout.
Yeah. How they're continuing to be. Ohtani from Japan, this monster prospect in Japan, right? These guys are 2-way players. I wonder if that's going to keep on. At some point, they'll probably have to focus on one. But this Ohtani kid, they think can pitch and DH for somebody.
Isn't there something holding that up though? Him coming over here. I mean, he's already making good money over there. I think
he could have cashed in, but yeah, he's just kind of waiting.
Yeah, and then you don't want to see necessarily a situation where, listen, I'll take what we got from Ichiro, even though he got here later. But imagine if he'd been here from the beginning for selfish reasons.
He could have pushed Rose, right?
Oh yeah.
So that
he had 3,000 major league hits, right? And he was 28 when he came over, 27.
Yeah.
We have a pretty busy segment coming up because we have next question, which we haven't done that in a while. We have the DP Doe office hookup returning. That'll be going for the next couple of months, so we're excited to have that segment back as well. And then the 5 o'clock hour, I'm going to be gone, but Jeremy's going to cover this with Robert Rosenthal from IlliniBoard.com and Matt Silich, the resident NBA expert. And this is a big game tonight, which I'll be watching, at least when I'm not watching Better Call Saul. Yeah. I hope that when I flip back over, it's something worth watching.
You're going to go Better Call Saul first.
Yeah.
And then go back to the game.
Well, because it's a good bit of timing because you get to see the start of the game at 8.
Yeah.
And you'll have an idea if this is going to be a competitive game or not pretty early, right? So if it is, then you go over to Better Call Saul and then come back for the fourth quarter.
There you go.
And maybe try to slot Game of Thrones in there somehow. Maybe not tonight.
So you're through 3 seasons.
Yeah, we just watched the first one of season 4 last night.
So you've seen The Red Wedding.
Oh my God. You know what's coming.
You know
but
it's
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's really good.
And like
Grains of Castamere start playing, and you know something's going to happen.
Yeah.
We just got really dorky.
Yeah, that's fine. That show is tremendous. I don't even like fantasy stuff, but I love that show.
It's worth the hype, isn't it? My brother's like, you have to watch. I'm like, I'll watch it eventually. Get off me. And then I watch it and I go,
The goal.
I get it.
The goal is what? Mid-July it comes back?
Yeah.
We'll be caught up.
Oh, yes, you will.
It is a challenge. We have accepted it, and we will get through these next 3 seasons.
If you want to weigh in, 359-2255. That's 217-359-2255.
It is the Tay and J Show.
and ESPN Radio Mike and Mike Extra Point.
Congratulations to the Pittsburgh Penguins,
Yep.
Stanley Cup champions back-to-back. And they win in part because of a goal that would have given Nashville an early lead last night, but it was waved off because of an inadvertent whistle.
It happens, and there's nothing you can do about it but just say, you know what? The referee saw what he saw, blew the whistle because of what he thought he saw, and it was a mistake. But unfortunately, in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup, when the Predators need the win to send it to Game 7, it gets magnified in a game that was short on goals, something we hadn't seen a whole lot of in this series. And it was a scoreless first period, and this was right in the beginning of the second period. Would have put Nashville up 1-0. You don't know what would have happened at that point. There was still a lot of hockey left, but being up 1-0 is a lot better than zip-zip.
We know for sure they wouldn't have lost 2-0.
No, they would not have.
Hear more from Mike and Mike tomorrow morning on ESPN Radio.
If your paint job is looking less than new, bring back that showroom shine with Formula One Wash and Wax, Paste Wax, or Scratch Out on sale now for $2.99 each at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Keep your vehicle looking new with Formula One Auto Care products, $2.99 each at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Golf's second major starts this Thursday, and DraftKings.com has a $100,000 contest that's totally free to enter. 1 week fantasy golf at DraftKings is easy to play. Just pick 6 golfers before the tourney tees off. Then follow live as your golfers rack up points for birdies, eagles, and more. It all starts this Thursday morning, so hurry to DraftKings.com now and use code POINT to enter the free $100,000 fantasy golf contest. That's promo code POINT. DraftKings, the game inside the game. Eligibility restrictions may apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Guidance, trust, protection, service. It's the mantra of GTPS Insurance. When you work with GTPS, you'll never have to call an 800 number in a different state. You deal with people who live and work in our community and know it's important to your business. GTPS is your local source for business insurance, property, general liability, workers' compensation, and group health insurance, and they'll work with you to formulate the best package for the needs of you and your business. Contact a GTPS insurance agent today at 359-9000 or visit online at gtpsinsurance.com.
Oh, hey, hi, hello there. It's me, your air conditioner. You can call me AC if you want, but Mr. Conditioner is my dad's name. Okay, listen, you may have noticed that I'm using a lot of energy right now, and that's why you need to call an expert. Yep, the experts can give me a precision tune-up, so you'll save up to 30% on energy bills, and I won't have to work so hard, which is great because I'm about to pass out.
At Chief Bauer Service Experts, save $41 off an AC Precision Tune-Up. Call 866-EXPERTS or visit chiefbauer.com. For expert service guaranteed.
Call 866-EXPERTS.
Winning can be fun, and we love giving away free stuff, but we want to make sure it's fair for everyone. So here are the rules when competing to win on ESPN 93.5. No purchase necessary. Prize must be collected within 30 days during business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 2702 Boulder in Urbana. ESPN Radio assumes no liability due to circumstances beyond our control, and any prize may be substituted with a prize of equal or greater value. Winners are liable for any taxes, tips, or other miscellaneous charges associated with the prize. All contestants must have a valid ID and social security number. Our judges' decisions are final and reserve the right to end any contest at any time for any reason without notice. In the event that a contestant is found to be ineligible for a prize, said prize will not be awarded. And if you win, we reserve the right to use your likeness or voice on the radio or online, and any winners must wait 30 days to win again. Get a complete list of rules and more information on any contest on ESPN Radio at ESPNCU.com. Those are the rules, and good luck from ESPN 93.5.
The season for spring cleaning is here. Freshen up your finances with Busey. Review your budget, pay down debt, and get organized. With Bill Pay from Busey, see and pay all of your bills through eBank. Plus, the Busey mobile app puts your account at your fingertips. For additional resources to spring clean your finances, visit Busey.com or stop by one of our many convenient locations today. Busey, your dream, our promise. Member FDIC.
From buyers and sellers inspections before the sale, protect your future with AA Marshall Home Inspection Services. We also provide radon testing with results back in 48 hours. From Champaign to Savoy and Gifford to Gibson City, protect your future with AA Marshall Home Inspection Services. Get more details and schedule your inspection today at aamarshall.net.
When you're heading home, Tay and J are on your way talking sports. Weekday afternoons 3 to 6 here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
427, I'm Jeremy Warner with your Sports Center update. With the service you can get from State Farm, you might think their car insurance costs more, but with discounts up to 40%, you may find it even costs less. Call State Farm agent John Kaywood in Champaign at 217-367-1105. Illinois basketball hosted Slovenian big man Matik Vesel for a visit over the weekend. 6'9", 19-year-old plays for the Slovenian U20 national team. For more information, just go find the video on YouTube that you can see of him. It tells you a little bit about him. Illinois AD Josh Whitman announced Natalie Walsh as the new women's gymnastics coach. She was last the coach at Utah State. According to ESPN's Jeff Goodman, there are talks about expanding the Big Ten Conference basketball schedule from 18 games to 20. Tonight, the Warriors have another chance to close out their second NBA championship in 3 years. Cavs won Game 4 to prolong the series by 21 points. Tip-off 8 o'clock tonight. 2-0 win last night for the Penguins gave them their second title in as many years. It's the first team to go back-to-back since the Red Wings in 1999. Vegas' early odds list the Penguins as the favorite to get a three-peat. They are 9-1 odds to win the 2018 Stanley Cup. Oilers, Lightning, Capitals all get 10-1 odds, while the Blackhawks are 12-1. The Blues 35-1. After losing 3 of 4 to the Rockies, the Cubs look to get back over 500 with a first of 3 against the Mets tonight. John Lackey against Jacob deGrom. First pitch at 6:10. Hear it on our sister station, US 105.9. White Sox are the worst team in the AL, and tonight they send Mike Pelfrey against Wade Miley and the Orioles. After sweeping the Phillies, Cardinals had the day off before hosting the first-place Brewers tomorrow. MLB draft starts tonight at 6. The White Sox draft 11th overall. Cubs select 27th and 30th. Cardinals don't pick until 94th. They got the 30th pick for compensation for Fowler and forfeited 2 picks to the Astros.
Tay and J Show, Mike Carpenter with Jeremy Warner on a very warm, balmy. Is it balmy or is that an understatement? It's what, 95 degrees?
Yeah, balmy I always think of like, it's like a December 45, 50 degree day.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. It's just hot. That's probably the best word for it.
Really, really hot.
And speaking of hot, that's a terrible transition. We have a contest that we did about a couple months ago from DP Dough. We call
balmy is pleasantly warm.
Oh, well, this is...
So that's what I think of, like an Indian summer kind of day.
This is the kind of weather where I'm getting up early to go running.
Yes.
Because you can't, not even afternoon, evening, it's too hot.
This is the weather Lon likes that I hate. I walk outside and I'm sweating. So unless I'm in a pool or by a beach, this weather, no thanks for me.
Yeah, I mean...
But I won't complain. This is better than
May.
5 degrees in December, but we haven't had many of those here recently.
No, we haven't. No, I mean, winter was super easy, and it just felt like it wasn't fully summer until like a week ago.
Yeah.
Like it took a long time to get here, and now that it's here, it is here. And what better thing to eat in the summer? I'm terrible at these transitions. Okay, so we did this a couple months ago. I think January, February we did this, so maybe even longer than that. And throughout the summer, DP Dough is going to hook up your office with a catered lunch of calzones, salad, and fresh-baked cookies for up to 25 people.
It's easy. All you got to do is text us at 359-2255 with the name of your office and how many people you work with, along with your office number and number of people. Let us know. And today, Carp, we're going with...
Okay, so Lon was going to be here, and he would have appreciated this, but it is Drew Holiday's 26th birthday. Hard to believe he's only 26.
Famous Philadelphia 76ers.
Yes, one of the greatest of the last 5 years. And so we're asking you who your favorite 76er of all time is. There's a lot of actually good ones to choose from.
Now, Drew's now on the Pelicans.
Yes, he is. But we will always forever associate him with the great run he had with the Philadelphia 76ers. So here's what it is. Again, it's 359-2255. That's 359-CALL. You text us. And with your name, where you work, and the number of people. We can accommodate, or I should say DP Dough can accommodate up to 25 people. So if you got 50, you're going to have to draw straws. I don't know.
All you got to do is give us your favorite 76er of all time, and we're going to pick the one we like the most. And the winner will get that great lunch for your office up to 25 people. Visit dpdough.com for more information.
All right, so we'll select a winner at the end of the segment here, but we do have a bit of next question to bring.
I think your boy is on the line.
Oh, well.
Is your boy?
Oh, my guy, John?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see if I can find
He still
where
calls us up for this.
Well, first let's get the music going there. And he is... Where is that guy?
I can't find him.
Wait, what's that guy? I had one.
Goodness gracious.
Okay, well, we can play Goodness Gracious for this round.
All right, so Cart, Ohio State hired Butler coach Chris Holtmann. How would you grade the hire?
We talked about that Friday. I would say a B-. Here's why. You could do much worse.
I love that delivery that you do. Here's one. It's just under the radar transition.
Yeah. And followed by a pregnant pause.
Yes,
okay, so B- because it is a solid pickup.
Yeah.
It is a better pickup in my mind than McDermott would have been. I think that would have been, and we even talked with Adam Jardy. It was a great interview Friday, and he talked about just the mass confusion up there about what's going on, and that McDermott was not a name that was pleasing anybody up there. So Holtman, solid. He seems to be well regarded in coaching circles. A younger guy.
He was the guy for me for this job that Conzo was for Illinois. I thought it was the guy who made a lot of sense. Kind of fits what they need, but it wasn't maybe a home run that you're thinking. I don't even know if Underwood was, but I liked his resume more. I like his fit more.
Yeah.
But Conzo it felt like, okay, you're at least going to get this. It felt like going in there, Chris Holtman, that's what you should end up with if you miss on your top targets.
The thing about this coaching search that's still kind of confusing is that they went after McDermott in the first place. So, let's say the comp would have been Illinois going after swinging and missing on Archie Miller. And then they get Conzo. Okay, well, that's fine. That's what you get. And not bad, and you'll take it. But we also talked with Adam Jardy on Friday and asked him about Archie Miller. And that if you make this move in March, and it's you and Indiana out there, maybe Ohio State, with the resources that they have, with the connections that Miller already has in Ohio, that would have been a situation where he would have picked them over Indiana.
Felt like loyalty to Thad Matta hurt them, and I get it.
Yeah.
It's hard to fire him. I mean, he's the best coach I've ever had, right? It's very hard to fire that guy after all the success he's had and 2 down years. But given the recruiting that was going on, given that there was so much negative recruiting, and the product was going downhill really, really fast. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah.
I think they knew it then. They wanted to give him another opportunity, but they probably cost themselves Archie Miller, because I'd heard all along that Archie wanted that job.
My question with Holtman will be, he inherited a good Butler program. He kept it that way. They had a really good season last year. He made the tournament all 3 years. So I don't think there's any denying that he is a good coach. This is a different beast in that you have to rebuild the roster. Butler was tailor-made. Here is a really awesome mid-major, then Power 5 school that was able to maintain that level of success when they went to the Big East. So,
what do you think of the Big Ten now that you have Archie, Brad Underwood, and Chris Holtman in it?
Those are 3 good additions right there. I mean, it's just Holtman out of those 3 is the one that doesn't have as much of a wow factor.
He's done well at Butler in the Big East, though.
Yeah.
Brad Stevens never did it in the Big East.
True.
I mean, I know the Big East isn't what it used to be. That's still a very, very good conference, though, and he's done well. I like him. I know he's from that tree. I know he's got connections to John Gross and all that, but I remember when Gardner Webb came in here and he was the head coach, I go, that guy's going to be at a big-time school in a couple of years.
Goodness gracious.
Sorry, John.
Yeah.
Take out salary, Carb. I think you're a little biased here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Who would you rather have for the next 5 years? Aaron Judge or Giancarlo Stanton? The guy he's most compared to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going Judge. But it is getting frightening, some of these little stats that are coming out. One that Buster Olney posted today was that if he does not start off in the hole in a count, so this includes counts that are 0-0, 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, whatever. As long as he's ahead in the count, his batting average is .479. He's not just hitting home runs.
He's a way better hitter than I thought, because last year at this time, Joe Sheehan put this out there. He was hitting .246, .321 on base, .401 slugging in AAA.
Yeah.
He was really struggling.
He was struggling. Then when he came up to the Yankees, he hit home runs, and then for every home run he hit, he struck out 4 times.
Yeah, you knew he was going to do that,
yeah.
right?
And he didn't.
A monster.
And apart from that, strikeout, home run, and not a lot of hits to opposite field. You didn't see. At least I don't think people were eyeing him for his defensive prowess, but he's a pretty good defender too, because he can get from point A to point B quickly.
Now he'd be a talk of the town, or the talk of baseball, I think, regardless. But in New York, when you're that kind of player, just like Puig was in L.A.,
superstar.
When you're that, all of a sudden he's got a section in the Yankee Stadium, that's what happens in New York.
Now, is he the biggest athlete in New York, even this early on? I mean, because if you look at the football teams, Eli Manning had his run.
I'd say Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
I'd say not to me, but Odell Beckham is maybe one of the top 4 or 5 superstars in NFL right now.
If
you look at jersey sales, commercials, all that stuff.
I keep waiting for that slump, and you're going to get slumps because even Barry Bonds and Alex Rodriguez.
I keep waiting for it with Judge, and it's not happening.
It's not happening, and he's getting better. And he is a complete hitter, which I didn't think it was going to be the case. I know you didn't either, because you just saw this swing and thought, okay, there's going to be so many holes in that strike zone. He shortened that swing up a little bit. It's not as if he has a violent swing.
I'd go Judge because there's an unknown there, but also Stanton. And I'm taking out salary in this. He's hurt a lot.
That's the other thing. Now, Judge, I think, did have an injury early in his minor league career.
But Stanton's done it for so many years, and he's having a career year right now, too.
Yeah.
That's very similar to what Judge is doing.
The funny thing is, it's at that point now because the Yankees are contending that the home run derby talk is going. And
he's got to do it.
I know he's got to
do it.
I don't think there's any science behind it.
I know, but this is what MLB, they need to pay him $1 million to do this.
Do they pay the contestants?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Well, if they haven't, this might be a new precedent.
Goodness gracious. I know. More impressive, Joey Votto's 44 walks to 32 strikeouts as a hitter, or Kenley Jansen's 43 strikeouts to 0 walks.
Is Joey Votto a Hall of Famer? If he'd been on a better team.
Yes, he is one of the best hitters of his job. I mean, pure professional hitting. He is one of the best. But yes, it's gone overlooked the last couple of years especially.
I'm going to go Jansen. Here's why. Oh, I just did it again.
Yes, I love it. This is nothing new with Votto. But with Jansen, 43, no walks.
And that when you come up in the ninth inning and a guy has the stuff of Jansen, sometimes your natural inclination isn't to swing away. It's let him get behind the count.
Right.
Let him get it to 2-0, and then I'll look for my pitch. No, instead, he's likely just getting ahead of these guys. Then they're forced to swing and miss. So that's pretty remarkable for a team that, I want to say quietly, the Dodgers are just doing their thing.
In third place.
Yeah. They'll win that division, I would think.
The Rockies are good, though.
And they are good, and this weekend kind of improved that as well.
Goodness gracious. All right, Sidney Crosby won his third Stanley Cup. But, Carp, which hockey player would make you, a non-hockey fan, turn into the game?
Well, I mean, Patrick Kane has the video game moves.
That's for me. For a lot of people who aren't into basketball, I think they watch Steph Curry. Like a couple of years ago, they just tuned in to watch Steph Curry. I think Patrick Kane still has that quality. I think he's the Steph Curry of the NHL. Just the things he does with a stick and a puck is ridiculous.
I'm going to leave most hockey stuff to Harry Black. He's much better at the 9.
Goodness gracious. All right, Rafi Nadal won his 10th French Open. It's the most anyone has won one major, Carp. What do you think of when you think of Rafi Nadal and his sports legacy?
I think of those beautiful brunette locks on his head.
Spanish.
With his Spanish. Hello. That was a terrible accent. I've been since Game of Thrones, I keep doing these awful accents. It's terrible. That was the worst one yet. Nadal, I would say him and Federer are the best 1-2 combo in tennis history. I think as far as guys that were peers of one another.
What I think of Nadal is the greatest specialist ever. Because in tennis, you get these guys who are great on clay, don't do well on grass. He did well on grass, but he couldn't do what Federer did, and the 3 of the 4 majors are on grass. He dominated. I mean, he dominated the French Open, so it was always like, just chalk it up. Nadal's going to win that. But I always associate him with Federer, and Federer was just better, right? Just better for the long term of his career. I think Federer might be the best men's tennis player of all time, and Djokovic is kind of taking that over now, but nobody could get Nadal really on clay. I mean, that's what you always remember. Maybe he's the number 2 of his era, but he's definitely one of the best tennis players of all time.
Federer was slow and steady, like you could count on him. Yeah. Nadal was more fun.
I mean, Nadal's number 2 all time in majors at 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Federer's number 1 at 18.
Jeez.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, that is worthy of a goodness gracious.
Do you know why soccer Twitter went crazy last night?
No.
Does anybody know what soccer Twitter
was? It was the under-20 game. Is that right?
Jacob, you know why? No? Okay, he doesn't want to come on here. I don't know. Soccer Twitter went crazy, though. I guess they tied Mexico and has to do something with the U.S.
Oh, it's the CONCACAF.
Is it the CONCACAF? Is it, or is it?
COFEFI. The COFEFI games.
I'm just not a soccer guy, but soccer Twitter went crazy. Brightweiser or Cliff and Urbana.
Oh, yeah, they were into it. No, I saw a lot of soccer tweets. So the thing is, I was invested in Game of Thrones. That's
better use of your
I got the blinders on.
There's too many different things in soccer.
Well, there's a lot of cups.
There's so many championships. I don't know how to keep them straight.
This is, I believe, CONCACAF. COFEFI is the North American, Canadian, Central American.
I think it was
region.
World Cup qualifying, a big one.
And I think
Bruce Arena is doing really well as the head coach, I think.
I think part of it, though, is like...
Just great soccer breakdown.
Yeah. And what I loved about the United States game plan is they the four corners approach, which we haven't seen since the days of Pele.
Yeah.
So I was enthralled throughout the game.
Chris Urbana's on the line.
Yeah, well, can we get him on, please? Because I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Chris, why did people go crazy last night?
It's Cliff, by the way.
Oh, it's
Sorry.
Cliff.
Harry didn't hear me good.
Okay. What's up?
We need your
why did
your
people
help.
go crazy? That was only the third time U.S. has taken a point from Mexico at Azteca in World Cup qualifying. They've never won there. So it's always really tough. Azteca sits way up high, heavy altitude, worse than Mile High Stadium. So it's always an extremely tough place to play just based on that itself. And then what really went nuts was, I believe it was the 14th minute, Michael Bradley stole a ball and chipped the keeper from about 40 yards out.
Nice. Is that it?
Yeah, hell of a play.
Nice.
I mean, there's that. But then taking the point, that was massive. They were, after 2 games in the Hex, they had 0 qualification points for Russia. And now they're sitting in 3rd place, so they're sitting in a comfier spot. So they've come a long way since the hiring of Arena.
So Arena's better than Klinsmann. We can say that.
Arena knows the players. He's brought in more of an MLS side, so a lot more Americans, where Klinsmann was trying to bring in a lot more internationals that weren't necessarily U.S. soil born, but they were players that had U.S. ties, like a Jermaine Jones, who I believe dad or mom is military, and his parents were based in Germany, and so you had a lot of those types of guys. But it's also, Bruce Arena knows CONCACAF, which is the area that U.S. plays, which is Trinidad, Tobago, Mexico, Jamaica, all the smaller countries. And you may think that it's an easy thing to do, but when you have to go into these small stadiums or these massive stadiums like Azteca, and you have to deal with the altitude, or you have to deal with the things that European teams just don't have to deal with, it's a totally different nature.
All right, thanks, Cliff.
Appreciate
that,
it, man. Thank you.
And somebody else,
Jürgen Klinsmann.
Somebody else corrected me that the one slam is on grass. Only one is on clay. I just meant one's on clay.
Are the other two on Astro Play?
They're on, like some hard surface and another plexi surface.
One more from Jen.
Goodness gracious.
Jürgen Klinsmann.
All right, the Olympics added 3-on-3 basketball, Carp, to the 2020 Olympics. Will you watch?
Only if it is NBA Jam rules. So if you hit 2 consecutive 3-pointers, you're technically on fire.
And it's all amateurs, I guess. I guess they're not going to allow...
Okay.
I don't know if they're going to allow professionals.
That adds a little kink into it. I mean, let's be honest. I was looking for the idea of, like, LeBron, Kevin Durant, and I don't know.
But is it half court? I'm guessing it's half court, 3-on-3 basketball.
Gus Macker style? Okay. And then maybe you have a 4th player, and he taps in whenever you need to give someone a blow.
Can we get, like, laser tag in the Olympics?
Yeah.
Like paintball or something like that? Capture the flag style?
What is the worst summer Olympic activity?
Oh, there's so many of them.
Equestrian's cool. I like that.
Not really. Do you watch equestrian?
No, but there was this old game on Sega Genesis, and that was the best event. It was the hardest, but it was a lot of fun. Cycling, when they actually go in the like tubular dome thing.
I'd like them to get creative though. Add some games like paintball or something like that. I think that'd be cool.
Twister.
I would probably watch that. Yes.
Yes. With the Swedish beach ball team. Volleyball team.
If you want to weigh in 359-2255, that's 217-359-2255.
It is the Tay and J Show.
Check out the new BMW Champaign. It's not like the old Twin City. They have new on-site local ownership since 2013, along with a new state-of-the-art facility. With a Customer First Service Award winner for 2015, BMW Champaign does business your way. Yes, they have tons of cars. Yes, they'll get you what you want. Yes, they discount, deal, and even pick up and deliver. So stop in, ask for Ben, and give BMW of Champaign a look. BMW of Champaign at the corner of Neal and Burwash in Savoy. Our Stevie J Broadcasting Law Enforcement Official of the Month is Mike Cervantes, a K-9 officer with his dog Hunter. Thank you for what you do. Why do you do it?
Oh, there's a lot of reasons. I think main one is it's an honorable profession. You know, I work with a lot of good guys, kind guys, compassion. For Police Week, Sergeant Rivers and I and his family, we went out and put flags on the graves of the officers that had passed away. Guys that are courageous. And it's not a lot of professions that you can go into and you can say, yeah, these are my coworkers, these are the people that I work with, and we do it, for each other. It's, like I said, not a lot of guys you feel to say, okay, yeah, when the stuff hits the fan, I can trust my life with these guys, and that's what we do. It makes me a better husband and father, and being able to help people, when they need it. People that maybe sometimes can't help themselves, or they're not able to defend themselves the same way.
Brought to you by SK Exteriors. Their website, callsktoday.com.
Hi, I'm Troy Lands from Lands Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. For a limited time, Lands is offering special financing for 6 years or up to $1,000 trade-in allowance. Your choice, with approved credit on any qualifying train system. So call Lands at 1-800-AIR-REPAIR for details, or find us online at landsinc.com. And remember, it's hard to stop a train. I'm Troy Lands, and you can count on my company because you can count on me.
See Lands or visit train.com for complete program eligibility dates, details, and restrictions.
DP Dough is the original Calzone company, and they cater all types and sizes of events, from office orders to private parties to entire visiting football teams. Everyone will be sure to enjoy something different than the same old sandwiches or pizza. DP Dough also delivers to nearly all of Champaign, Urbana, and Savoy until late at night. So give them a call or order online when you're hungry and no one else is delivering. With over 1 million calzones served since opening in 2006, DP Dough is sure to satisfy and fill you up. DP Dough, the original Calzone company.
Building relationships, supporting the community, and service. These are things Country Financial stands for. More than just an office you may pass by as you drive through town. Neighbors who lend a helping hand and support the fabric of our community, including charitable organizations, sports, financial education, and civic organizations. Chat with your neighbor at Country Financial. Jesse DeHaan. Call 352-3466. Talk about things that are important to you and how Country Financial can help protect them. Get strong and stay strong at your Champaign Curves. Ladies, rethink your fitness strategy. Let your Curves coach show you the health and beauty benefits that working out offers. For a limited time, new members can join. Get personal instruction and your best body all summer long for just $10. 30-minute cardio, strength training, stretching, and meal planning can get you where you want to be this season. Curves is for women only. At last, feel free to sweat. Curves, when you just want to work out. Located behind Biaggi's in Champaign. Call or go to curves.com today.
Chicago Cubs are going to be in the World Series, and maybe sooner than we think.
It's our trip to Wrigley Field, Chicago. You can join us on Wednesday, July 5th. The Cubbies take on Tampa Bay at 1:20. Our trip to see the world champion Chicago Cubs. Rooftop tickets and motor coach to Chicago. All your food and beverages are included. Pay online or come by the Stevie J Broadcasting Studios to pay by check. All your details at StevieJ.com. StevieJay.com.
Got a question? Talk to our experts at StevieJay.com. Experts are ready to answer your questions for free. Looking for cool trends in clothing or gear as you support area teams? Game Day Spirit is the official fan store of the Fighting Illini. Landscaping tips are also available from Country Arbor's Nursery. New tile or soft surfaces in your home or business? Flooring Surfaces, where the world is at your feet. Experts are available now online at StevieJay.com.
Hi, it's Stevie J. Start your day with me along with Diane Ducey, weekday morning 7 to 9 here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
Hey, the Cardinals host the Pirates the weekend of June 23rd through the 24th, and they got a big weekend of promotions, including an adult Cardinals pullover, Bob Gibson bobblehead, and kids Fredbird bobblehead. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions. That's cardinals.com/promotions. Cardinals over the weekend take care of business finally after losing 7 in a row. They win 3 in a row, and they have a huge 4-game series against the Brewers, including a doubleheader tomorrow. We'll be on the air a little bit late. They're making up a game against the Brewers from May 3rd. They'll start at 1:15, so you'll hear pregame here on ESPN Radio 93.5 starting at 12:20, and then we'll come on the air after that, and then you have Brewers again, Cardinals at 7:15, and then 2 more games on Wednesday and Thursday. So a big week ahead for the Cardinals as they try to get back into this thing. But the one thing both the Cardinals and the Cubs have going for them is that the NL Central is just terrible this year. A couple of years after being the toast of Major League Baseball, None of the NL Central teams are standing out. You got the Cubs at 500 right now. The Cardinals 3 games under 500. And who would have thought at this point of the season, I know Wednesday is Flag Day, which we use, Claiborne and Lon and I use as kind of the point of the season where you can say what a team is. Well, the NL Central is allowing the Cubs and Cardinals to get off to bad starts and for it really not to matter. I mean, Cincinnati is just 3 games back, Pittsburgh 4.5 back, and they're 7 games under 500. So a big weekend ahead for the Cardinals is I think the Brewers eventually are going to drop out of this thing. Their pitching isn't as strong as these other 2 teams. Hitting's pretty good, but they rode Eric Thames for a while, and MLB team's starting to figure him out after he was in Korea for a while. So the Cubs, they're kind of frustrating right now. You Cubs fans, I get it. It is time to get a little frustrated. You know, you've had the honeymoon after winning the World Series, but right now you're at 31-31. And you expected this team to probably be at least 6, 7, 8 games over 500 at this point. And the starting pitching continues to be a concern, even more so now with Kyle Hendricks going to the disabled list. But the offense, I do expect the offense by the end of the season or through the rest of the season to produce. But Schwarber, even if he hits a home run yesterday, that's still a huge concern because he was going to be a huge part of your offense. You know, Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo having pretty good seasons, but for them, you expect it to be a little bit more. Jason Hayward at least has been a bright spot, but that offense has got to get going a little bit more because you know you have to address the pitching. And I expect Theo Epstein to do it. I expect him to try and get a long-term solution in the middle of that rotation as well. As for the Cardinals, they just got to play better defense, not run into outs as much. And, you know, we talked about it a little bit earlier on with Carp. They made some big changes, maybe smaller changes, but all at the same time by DFAing Johnny Peralta. It was time. His time is up, and you might as well eat that money or see if anybody else will claim him and take that money off your hands. But Chris Maloney had to go. I mean, I don't know about firing assistant coaches, hitting coaches, pitching coaches, how much of a difference that'll actually make, but we've seen all year Chris Maloney just sending people into outs. The Cardinals by far the team that's run into the most outs on the base pass, and Chris Maloney's just seemed overwhelmed by that position at third base, which is a high-pressure position on a Major League Baseball staff when you're deciding whether a guy goes home from third to home. We see those outs a lot on the Cardinals, and those decisions end up being huge in games, and they've been all year for the Cardinals. I do think this is kind of a sign, though, to Mike Matheny that you got to fix this thing. I think he's going to have a couple months here. I don't know if they're going to fire Matheny mid-season, but I do think John Mozeliak's going to decide his future probably in the next month or two. And I think they got to decide whether they want to be sellers or not at the deadline. Maybe not, they're not going to do what the White Sox are doing, which is sell the entire team. But if you have somebody with value, whether that's a Colton Wong that a team might want, and you decide you can move somebody else to second base, you can add a first baseman and move Carpenter back over to second or move somebody else over there because you have a bunch of second basemen on the roster. And a guy like Lance Lynn, I think, is a guy that if you're deciding you're not going to compete this year with only a half a year left, I think you got to try and find some value for him. Try and get something out of him other than just maybe a compensatory pick. I think getting a major league ready piece, especially in the middle of that lineup, could be nice. And Lance Lynn's going to have a lot of value out there as the middle of the rotation starter, especially, for American League teams, which I'm sure the Cardinals will want to say. I've kind of thrown it out there that I know the Houston Astros and Cardinals don't have a very good history here recently, and the Cardinals are paying for it tonight by giving up 2 of their top couple picks because they breached their Astro system. But they're kind of loaded with first basemen. And I know A.J. Reed hasn't produced as much as they wanted to, hasn't been consistent when he's come up to the major leagues. But if that's a guy you can buy low on, a former top 100 prospect, I think top 50 prospect with power in the middle of that lineup, I think that could be an interesting piece to start a trade, and maybe you can get even more for that. So I think that'll be interesting to watch as the Cardinals and Cubs go the next couple weeks, because I think the Cubs, you know what they're going to be. They're going to be going for it this year. They should be going for it this year. But the Cardinals, I think they got some long-term ramifications of what happens over the next couple of weeks. Great part is, as I said, they're 2.5 games out in a bad NL Central. Coming up next hour, we'll talk Illini with Robert Rosenthal of IlliniBoard.com and get you ready for Game 5 of the NBA Finals with Matt Silich, Tay and J NBA expert. We'll be back. It's Tay and J Show.
Protecting your home and family, you better have a plan. Keep them safe from harm with a home alarm from F.E. Moran. Home invasions are on the rise all across the land, but they'll think they see the sign for F.E. Moran. Don't wait till it's too late. It's time to make a stand. Call 877-FE Moran. F.E. Moran. Alarm.
If you're looking for something to do to celebrate the 4th, the Champaign County Freedom Celebration has exciting events planned just for you. All of the day's events, including the Celebration Parade, 5K Race Walk, or evening program, would certainly not be possible without the support of our corporate sponsors and community volunteers like you. It's not too late to get involved. All happening at the University of Illinois. For more information, visit July4th.net or call 217-531-3777.
Beacon Insurance and your local independent agent are committed to providing the best coverage options and the best service possible. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at beaconinsurance.com and on social media. Check them out on Facebook at facebook.com/Beacon Insurance. It's a great way to learn more about insurance for your auto, home, life, or business. You'll stay up to date with important announcements. Plus, they'll throw in a few fun facts along the way. For beyond the expected information, follow Beacon Insurance on Facebook today.
Hi, I'm Damon Hackelman, owner of CleanRite in Champaign. If you're looking for a trusted restoration service company, just look for the guys in the blue trucks. At CleanRite, we understand that life happens, and we're ready to help. Our experienced service technicians will provide you with not only a quick response, but also honest answers and advice. For water, fire, smoke, or mold restoration, we're there when you need us. Call CleanRite today at 351-4930. That's 351-4930. Or just Google CleanRite Champaign.
Check out the new BMW of Champaign. It's not like the old Twin City. They have new on-site local ownership since 2013, along with a new state-of-the-art facility. With a Customer First Service Award winner for 2015, BMW of Champaign does business your way. Yes, they have tons of cars. Yes, they'll get you what you want. Yes, they discount, deal, and even pick up and deliver. So stop in, ask for Ben, and give BMW of Champaign a look. BMW of Champaign at the corner of Neal and Burwash in Savoy. Matthew 28:18 through 20 states, "Then Jesus came to them and said, All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teach them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age." Jesus charges us to spread his message to all ends of the earth. How are you spreading his message? Support local and international ministries and get involved. This message brought to you by the Blossom Basket Floor. You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Beta Bill Cosby in the jury's hands. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Pennsylvania panel now has the case in the sexual assault trial of the comedian. Fox's Gernal Scott has this live.
Lisa, the jury will consider the official charge against Cosby, aggravated indecent assault. It has 3 elements: lack of consent, lack of consciousness, and administering intoxicants. In the prosecution closing, DA Kevin Steele says all of those factors were proven, many with Cosby's own words about giving pills and alcohol and fondling women. Defense attorney Brian McMonigal had painted accuser Andrea Constand's allegation as inconsistent and said many of the other accusers saw Cosby as a target because of his fame. Cosby faces 10 years. If found guilty, the judge, not the jury, will determine the sentence, Lisa.
Gernal, President Trump's revised travel ban faces another setback. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal with more live.
The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals found that President Trump exceeded his authority that was given to him by Congress. ACLU attorney Lee Galert said the court found the president has to prove the immigrants he'd like to ban are detrimental to the interests of the country.
The ban was not rational in deciding we're going to ban this many people instead of just heightening security measures.
Another appeals court in Virginia also ruled against the president. The White House press secretary said today the order will eventually be upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court, Lisa.
Jessica, the government has enough money to keep going through the beginning of September, but Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin warned a House panel this afternoon Congress needs to raise the debt limit soon.
If we develop the right policies today, we will secure a prosperous future for our children and grandchildren.
In an hour, a different House panel will hear from Defense Secretary James Mattis and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Joseph Dunford on defense spending. At the close, the Dow losing 36, the NASDAQ off 32, the S&P fell 2 points. Fox News, fair and balanced.
This is the sound of a brand new outdoor grill being hurled off a 20-story building.
Now a stylish glass coffee table. An electric guitar. These are the things you could enjoy, all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Visit EnergySavers.gov and get tips on how to save energy and money. Then do things like switch to Energy Star light bulbs or Energy Star appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. So this doesn't happen to the recliner you've had your eye on, or this to the treadmill on your wish list, or this to the shiny new bike your kid's been asking for. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Somber ceremonies being held today in Orlando, 1 year since the worst mass shooting in U.S. history when gunman Omar Mateen opened fire at the Pulse nightclub, killing 49 and injuring dozens more.
I miss Pulse. I miss everything it stood for. I miss serving the LGBTQ plus community, our Latin community, in a way that only a gay bar can.
Pulse owner Barbara Poma, who was promised to rebuild in another location. Mateen had pledged allegiance to ISIS before he was shot and killed by police. His widow, Noor Salman, has pled not guilty to federal charges of aiding and abetting and obstruction. A soon-to-be congressman who made headlines after getting into a scuffle with a reporter the night before his special election victory last month is sentenced.
Republican Greg Gianforte gets a 180-day deferred jail sentence after pleading guilty to a misdemeanor assault of a Guardian newspaper reporter May 24th. A Montana judge instead ordering Gianforte to 40 hours of community service and 20 hours of anger management.
I think it's commensurate with the offense committed, and I think that you would grow from it, and I think you would probably end up enjoying it by the end.
Gianforte also pays almost $400 in fines. He's apologized for the incident and agreed to donate money to a journalist organization, as the Montana Democratic Party says in a statement that he shouldn't be sworn in as a member of Congress later this month. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
If you give vegetables fancy names, people are more likely to eat them. That's the finding of researchers at Stanford University. Veggies given names like zesty ginger turmeric sweet potatoes proved to be more popular at a campus cafeteria than labels that made them sound healthy, like low fat, reduced sodium, or sugar-free. Diners didn't realize the food was prepared the same way, but consistently chose the fancy-sounding names more often. Lisa Lacera, Fox News Radio.
Here's your ESPN Radio 3-day forecast brought to you by Chief Bauer. Trust the experts at Chief Bauer Service Experts to keep you comfortable all year long. Call 866-EXPERTS or visit them online at chiefbauer.com. You'll need them for your AC needs because it's going to be hot and it started this week. Partly cloudy tonight, a low of 74. Tomorrow, chance of thunderstorms. We could use that rain. High 94, low 74. Wednesday, high 94, chance of thunderstorms, maybe a half inch of rain, a low of 73. Right now, sunny, clear, 93 degrees in Champaign, Urbana. It is Drive Time, presented by Honda BMW Champaign. For new and used vehicles, visit their huge inventory at the corner of Neal and Burwash and Savoy, or visit them online at drivechampaign.com. This is where we recap the first 2 hours of the Tay and J Show. And for the first hour and 45 minutes, Mike Carpenter filled in for an ailing Lon Tay, and we started off talking about the NBA Finals, which is prolonged a couple days by the Cavs' huge win in Game 4. They win 132-116, scored 86 points, an NBA Finals record in the first half. It was an amazing effort from a great Cavs team, but the entire time I'm listening to it on the radio for my drive home back from St. Louis was, man, what if they just won Game 3? How great would this be going into tonight at the Oracle, and you know you're going to come back to Cleveland? That would have lived up to exactly what we thought and hoped this series would be. But at least there's a little intrigue, for this series. It would have been amazing to see the Warriors sweep through an entire playoffs. It's one of the best seasons, best postseason runs I've ever seen from one team. And I do expect the Warriors to close this out, but at least it's left a little intrigue. I was just talking with the interns in here. What if Cleveland did come back from this? What if LeBron would lead them back from down 3-1 last year to win a finals? And then the next year, he comes back down from 3-0. That little bit of intrigue is phenomenal for the NBA, and we probably don't talk about it if it's not LeBron James' team. But I do think the Warriors will end up winning this. It took a Herculean, maybe the best NBA Finals game we've seen from one team to win like that, for the Cavs to win. In Game 3, I thought the Cavs played a phenomenal game for, 46 minutes. And you always thought the Warriors had a chance to win that game, and they did, because the Cavs couldn't score in the end, and the Warriors just have way too many weapons. Maybe the Cavs figured something out, playing and, making Draymond and Clay beat you, but those guys are going to hit shots in one of these 3 games, right? But that's what that intrigue has left. And with LeBron, you never know, because he's the best player in the world. He's been playing just amazingly in these finals, but at least we got a little intrigue going into tonight. But I do expect the Warriors to pull this one out. But if it comes back to Cleveland, we saw the same Golden State team without Kevin Durant, and that's a big difference. We saw, these Warriors, Steph Curry, Clay, they puckered up a little bit in that series. So we'll see tonight how they handle that. But with Kevin Durant in this lineup, I just don't see the Cavs having a chance to pull this one out. We also talked about Illinois hosting another surprise big man, Slovenian big man, Matik Vesel, visited Illinois over the weekend. Derek Piper, IlliniInquirer.com, broke him down a little bit on the website. We're not going to know very much about this guy. He's 6'9", plays for the Slovenian U20 team, plays professionally a little bit over there, which you can do, and still come back over to college. So, it's really interesting that they're showing interest in this kind of kid, but it's also creative. European kid. And for me, I love watching John Beilein. I think he's one of the best coaches in the country, and he goes and gets a kid like Mo Wagner, and that kid's turned into an NBA prospect, possibly a first-round draft pick next year. His system is run well with guys who fit his system. And I think that's what Brad Underwood's done. With Boyd Bowden, he signed last week, Greg Boyd Bowden, maybe under-recruited, but there were other Power 5 programs trying to get him after he got out of his letter of intent from UIC. He's long, he's athletic, he rebounds well, he plays defense well. You need that. Now they want a skilled big man offensively, and it seems like Matik Vesel has some of those skills, and I like that they had the connections from Orlando Antigua to have a name like this pop up on the radar and for them to host him. I think that's huge. Derek Piper reported that he's headed back home to Slovenia. That's probably a good sign for Illinois that he's not staying over here and going to get more visits. This is a long-term guy, right? I mean, I don't think you're expecting much from him next year. I don't think you're expecting much from a Boyd Bowden next year. He'll have to play probably 10 to 12 minutes a game unless they add some fifth-year transfer this late in the process. But for long-term, you had a guy who's defensive prowess with a Boyd Bowden with a ceiling. Then you had Vesel, who's probably gotten to get to a weight room, but a skilled kid you can bring over. You add some nice pieces. These aren't going to be probably the stars of your team, but some nice pieces that can develop over the long term. And then if you had a kid like George Condit, who some people compare to DJ Wilson, you had depth there. You start to get multiple pieces that can do different things. And if one of them doesn't work out, you got some other guys. So I think that's interesting to watch with this staff. But, the fact that they've gotten a little creative, the fact that they have the connections, I think that's a positive, and we'll see how it develops going forward. We also talked a little MLB draft with Jeff Ellis from Scout.com, the lead MLB draft analyst there. Not a lot for us locally here because the White Sox aren't in the top 5 this year. They're number 11, but we'll see if somebody drops to them. They could take a collegiate arm. They could take a high school prep outfielder who's toolsy, but it just adds another piece to their system. I think the more intriguing thing is what the Cubs are going to do. Not that I think any of these guys are going to help this year, but I do think it's going to be interesting to see if they go 2 more pitchers because they have 2 picks in the first round, 27th and then 30th overall. They got one of those picks because of Dexter Fowler signing with the Cardinals, so they get that comp pick. I think it'll be interesting to see what Theo Epstein does because they won they've lost a lot of their top prospects from, going to their major league team. The Cardinals saw this. You got to keep replenishing that thing to keep as good as the Cardinals have been for so long. Be interesting to see if the Cubs can do that and just how many picks they spend on pitchers, because obviously that's a need for them. But these pitchers are probably a year, 2, 3 away, even if they're college pitchers. But Jeff said there is plenty to pick from pitching-wise towards the bottom of that first round. We also talked about some the NHL, the Penguins winning the Stanley Cup. Harry broke that down a little bit, but Sid Crosby wins his 3rd cup, and I think he's just solidifying himself. Not that he needed another cup for it, but solidifying himself as the face of the generation hockey-wise. And the Penguins doing it back-to-back, that's really impressive because it doesn't happen that often in hockey. The last time it happened was in 1999 with the Detroit Red Wings. But I think Sid, the one thing about him is he doesn't get out there much. It's kind of like Mike Trout. He's kind of the face of hockey, but you don't really know much about him. He doesn't really want to talk to the media a lot. Doesn't do those things. I think it would help hockey if he kind of got out there more. But it's just not his personality. It's not Mike Trout's personality, but it was a fantastic Stanley Cup playoffs throughout this thing. Nashville was a phenomenal story. That city got swept up in that franchise, and there was just so much intrigue. There were long series. There were close series. It's kind of been the opposite of the NBA, and I think that was really good for the NHL. That's Drive Time presented by Honda BMW Champaign. For new and used vehicles, visit their huge inventory at the corner of Neal and Burwash and Savoy, or visit them online at drivechampaign.com. When we come back, we'll talk everything Illini, including Illini football recruiting and Illini basketball, the start of the Brad Underwood era, with Robert Rosenthal, IlliniBoard.com. He's up next. It's the Tay and J Show.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat. From Charlotte, here's Dari Noka.
I realize where hockey sits on the radar of the masses of this country, and I realize that my tweet with about 15 minutes left in the 3rd period last night went completely unnoticed, even by those of you who do follow me. But you should have taken my advice and flipped over from whatever you were binge watching to the Penguins and Predators. With about a minute and a half to go, Pittsburgh scored the game-winning goal. They added an empty net or two and won their 2nd straight cup. But when the clock hit 0 would have been the bad time to turn the channel. Because after the game, we saw the best sports has to offer. The team handshakes that occur when hockey series end, always great, but even better, the crowd in Nashville. The same people that were standing outside Bridgestone Arena downtown in the morning yesterday were belting out chants of "Let's go Preds" and "Thank you Predators" before its team walked off the ice. Very cool. Well-deserved moment of appreciation for what this team gave them from October to June. Hockey can't work in the South? Don't let what happened in Atlanta make you think it can't. Every single game all season was sold out in the Music City. In 60 seconds, it's just so Patriot.
Golf's second major starts this Thursday, and DraftKings.com has a $100,000 contest that's totally free to enter. 1 week fantasy golf at DraftKings is easy to play. Just pick 6 golfers before the tourney tees off. Then follow live as your golfers rack up points for birdies, eagles, and more. It all starts this Thursday morning, so hurry to DraftKings.com now and use code SportsBeat to enter the free $100,000 fantasy golf contest. That's promo code SportsBeat. DraftKings, the game inside the game. Eligibility restrictions may apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds, or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores to everyone for free, even if you're not a customer. And checking your score won't hurt your credit. We call it the Discover Credit Scorecard. And once you know your score, you should check to see if your current credit card is the best fit for you. Check your credit, compare your card. Go to discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
Their Super Bowl ring has 283 diamonds, and it's beautiful. Football-shaped, shiny, sparkly, all of that. But as my radio partner this weekend, Booger McFarland, said, it's also so Patriot. 283 diamonds? Why? To symbolize the fact that in the Super Bowl, the Pats once trailed Atlanta 28-3. I get it, but it's just so smug. And a little bit of a shot at Atlanta, too, isn't it? Hey, reminder to all, you had us dead and buried until you didn't. Now, I'm probably making too much of this, Boog too, because I'm not going to lie. I'm one of those who looks for reasons to get mad at the Patriots. And I know I've got company there. Go ahead, enjoy your rings, your 5 rings, Tom Terrific. You've earned every single one of them, and they're so, so pretty. With the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Dari Noka.
The official fan store of the Fighting Illini is moving. Game Day Spirit, currently located at 1422 South Neal Street, is moving to the corner of Neal and Kirby in Champaign this July. In the meantime, they're preparing for the lowest prices of the season to be available during their moving sale in June. Stay tuned for more information and follow them on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram by searching Game Day Spirit. Stay in the know of all things Game Day and all things Fighting Illini with Game Day Spirit, the official fan store of the Fighting Illini.
Hi, it's Stevie J. Start your day with me along with Diane Ducey, weekday mornings 7 to 9, here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
It is the Tay and J Show, ESPN Radio 93.5. Jeremy Warner taking you up till 6 o'clock. Carp filled in for Alante for the first hour 45 minutes on the show. Appreciate him doing that. Could be a solo show tomorrow, but we're on late due to Cardinals Brewers. That's a 1:15 start tomorrow. A reminder to you Cardinals fans, and they have another one at 7:15 later that night. So you can listen to that loud and clear here on ESPN Radio 93.5. But let's talk a little Illini. I want to talk some Illini football, some recruiting as well, but also get his thoughts on basketball, the start of the Brad Underwood era. And that's Robert Rosenthal, IlliniBoard.com, joining us on the Jupiters at the Crossing phone line. Robert, how are you?
I just caught the tail end of Illinois, Indiana 2013 on the Big Ten Network, so I'm pretty fired up right now.
Yeah, have you talked with Tyler Griffey? He's down in your neck of the woods, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yeah, I had forgotten he missed a bunny layup with 5 minutes to go that could have cut the lead to 5 or something. I totally forgot that storyline that the earlier missed bunny led to the final layup.
Robert, do you know what's forgotten about that game and that season in particular is how great DJ Richardson was during that run?
Yeah, he had 23. He led the whole comeback in that game.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Made the defensive plays, but that season, I remember Brandon Paul was so good to start the season. And of course, DJ made the 3 against Hawaii. But DJ, his second half was so strong.
You're right. It's so funny that over the years, you remember the narrative of the season,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Brandon Paul was amazing against Miami. It was the BP3 show, and and all that, and Griffey hit the big layup. But yeah, you forget about DJ and his surge in the final year of his career is great.
And Sam McLaurin, the 5th-year transfer, that just gave him a little bit of defense. Robert Rosenthal, IlliniBoard.com. Let's start with basketball. As Brad Underwood gets his era going, there's been a lot of comings with players and a lot of goings with some of the transfers, including maybe a little bit of a surprise with Jalen Coleman-Lange. Just what have you thought about the first kind of, couple months of roster building and roster subtraction?
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever seen something like this. I mean, I remember when Lon Kruger came in and he changed a few things, but to add 3 recruits, in the first 2 months, to lose 2 guys, to I don't ever remember this much activity at the very beginning. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they had to get some size, and so they found it. If I say Eboig Bowden, is that the correct pronunciation?
That is perfect, because Chin Coleman called him Eboig Bowden. Actually, his nickname's Spicy G, so if you want to go Spicy G, you can go with that.
Okay. You had to get a little size, behind Finky and Black, so Spicy G will fill that role. But yeah, I mean, to step up and land Mark Smith against all the big boys, and then, to step up in the transfer market and find Allstork who's going to fill that role that JCL was going to have. So yeah, it's been a little crazy. I mean, it's still thin. It's still 9 scholarship players, 10, it's still going to be pretty thin next year, but impressive first 2 months.
Yeah, and then we talked about Matik Vessel, the Slovenian that they had for a visit here. I don't expect us to break down his game or anything like that, Robert, but I do find the connection to Europe, that Antigua has that, and I do find the creativity. I've always kind of I've loved watching John Beilein, his program, and that rise at Michigan. And I think Illinois and Michigan are kind of similar programs historically. So I love the model that he's kind of doing. Just what do you think of how he's, approached 2017, the end of it, and 2018, and how the staff's kind of operating that way?
Yeah, I think we've seen 2 coaching staffs that struggled to find those guys that fit their scheme, right?
Yeah.
like John Gross never found his DJ Cooper. He just never found him. Weber, talked when he left, like, I recruited the wrong guys, and I should have stuck with what made things at Southern Illinois. It was specific types of talent, So it's interesting because it seems like Underwood is doing that, looking at a Europe big man, looking at this, this skinny, raw athlete kid from Detroit who he thinks he can mold into something. He's looking out there and seeing that specific kind of player, and it makes me wonder. They probably offered this Condit kid pretty early in the 2018 class, but is that the kind of guy they want? Do they want that lanky, skinny, just grew to 6'9" and doesn't know how things work yet, but he's still kind of athletic and we can use that? Are they looking for that kind of big man? Are they looking for a Smith kind of guard? It's interesting to see how he looks to be methodically looking at specific types of players.
Yeah, and Robert, it's amazing how much the narrative would be different if Mark Smith picked Michigan State.
Oh yeah, totally, absolutely, yes. Because then who's your cornerstone that you're building around? Who's your guy? And to see shots of him on the practice court today, it's amazing how quickly this transpired from Underwood getting the job to staring down Cal and Izzo to, Smith's going to be in uniform in 5 months taking the court first game. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah,
and just Mark Smith's rise. It's been pretty amazing to watch. He's Robert Rosenthal, IlliniBoard.com. What would be your expectations for year one? What's a successful year one for Brad Underwood, and what would worry you if that's possible in year one?
I think it's a bubble team. I think it's the wrong side of the bubble team.
Yeah, me too.
It's early. They're thin. They're replacing a fair bit. A lot of seniors. It's a new system. I would love to see kind of Oklahoma State's season last year where they were, something like 13-12 mid-January and then went on some crazy run or whatever. So, when they figured out the system, I'd love to see that. It would take a lot from the freshmen. It would take Smith and Trent Frazier being ready to come in and play major minutes immediately, which is pretty rare. I mean, we saw it with Dee and Darren in 2002, 2003, but it's pretty rare for that to happen. So, it's going to take, if they're going to somehow get on the right side of the bubble, it would take a ton from the freshmen, I think.
He's Robert Rosenthal, IlliniBoard.com. You know how to follow him on Twitter, @OINI. Let's switch to football. And, I'm covering football recruiting. I was down in St. Louis where there's some nice prospects, up in Chicago where there's a lot quantity, but not maybe a lot of quality that Illinois was looking at up there. But 3 commits right now. I know some, Robert, freaking out. I think there's legitimate concerns when it comes to recruiting after missing out on a lot of their top targets so far. But where do you land on that?
I'm probably less on the freak out side just because I kind of expected a slow developing class. I mean, as of right now, they have 15, maybe 16 open scholarships. Last year at this time, they had 29 or 30 open scholarships. Right. So, I don't know what numbers they'll end up with. It's going to be less than last year, so they have less to give. So I figured they would be more methodical. And then with the way I think Lovey found his way through recruiting and the way he made changes to his recruiting staff right after the season, that seemed to say they're going to be even more methodical, that they want to evaluate these kids, evaluate, get them to camp season, try and go see them somewhere to satellite camp, just take your time, get to know the kid. Pretty much the exact opposite of, say, PJ Fleck at Minnesota, which is like high pressure. If you're on campus, we need you to commit. I don't care if you decommit later. You need to sign on for us right now. Whereas Lovey, lets the guy walk out of the showroom and doesn't even ask him if he wants to buy the car because he wants it to be a year-long kind of thing. So I kind of expected this. I predicted 5 by July. They're at 3 right now. Probably a little less, coming to mid-June than I thought it would be. But if it's at 5 by July, I think they're kind of on track. Lost a lot of big targets. That's tough. A lot of kids. I mean, Luke Ford seemed like he was ready to pop and then picked Arkansas. Now he's decommitted and visiting, Alabama and LSU. I thought they had a chance at AOA. here in St. Louis, and LSU and Texas come calling, and he picks Texas. So, it's a little disappointing so far, but still a long way to go.
Yeah, Robert, and when I think there's legitimate concern with playing the long game. I think it means you're not going to have a lot of decommitments, as you were talking about. I think Minnesota's going to have a lot of them. But I think they think there's enough upside to pressure these kids that, hey, if we hang on to half of them or hang on to 75% of them, there's an upside to that. Right. While Lovey's coming from a college game, he treats us a little differently. I'm just fascinated to see how each of those works out in the long run. But I also think, their evaluation was pretty dang good last year. But I also thought that this staff was going to build it more like Iowa, more like Wisconsin, like we're talking about with Underwood. Find the fit. Evaluate and find the fit, and I think that's more important than football. And I think some fans thought when Lovie Smith came in here that Ron Zook's recruiting would happen. And I think a lot of people forget Ron Zook took till year 3 to get the 5-star prospects, and that class wasn't even his best class in the long run.
Right. And I think right now, it's pretty similar to last year, except for Ricky Smalling. Now,
yes,
that's a big exception. That's the top player in the class, a great athlete, pretty much a 4-star, wasn't on the consensus list, but, 4-star by 3 of the 4 ratings. So, that's a big exception, but, they had maybe a project quarterback in Cam Thomas. Maybe it's similar. I think maybe Coran Taylor's a little better. They had a guy in Kendall Smith who really didn't have any other Power 5 offers. And, they landed a guy they liked in Julian Pearl, doesn't really have Power 5 offers. During camp season, they landed Mondesir, probably, similar kind of thing to landing Walker. So, if this Jordan Slaughter kid picks Illinois, say he's the 4th in the class, very similar to Vidarian Lowe, in-state kid, big kid.
Robert, I got a text. I got a text the other day from somebody, Vidarian Lowe 2.0. Right. That's somebody who's evaluated him, and I saw him up close. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, and so it's so far the way that class developed is the way this class is developing. In junior, maybe it's a reach to take Mondesir, but they like it. That's the kind of kid they want for linebacker, and maybe eventually grows into a rush kind of guy like James Crawford or whatever. But, they like these kids. They see them at camp. They offer them, and that's that. Now, they followed that up with Carmoni Green, and they followed that up with Oladipo, and they had a great August, and they had a great December, and landed Kendrick Green, and they landed, Delshon. So, they started a little slow last year and then hit the accelerator. So you can't say, they started slow. Obviously, they're going to hit the accelerator. But, it's similar thus far. Just means they're going to have another great close.
Talking with Robert Rosenthal, IlliniBoard.com. It's exciting to get these freshmen because unlike a lot of coaches who were hired the same year as Lovey, he's only got 1 recruiting class as opposed to 2 going into year 2. And he's going to need a lot of these kids to play well. I know you and I, Robert, both are on this. I mean, 8 seniors, 13 juniors on this roster, and half of them aren't very good Big Ten players. So, I mean, who do you expect from this freshman class to make an immediate impact, and how much does he need from these freshmen?
Yeah. I mean, my latest stat, Jeremy, I think if I ran the numbers correctly after the 3 players were dismissed, I believe there are 39 sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and there are 39 redshirt freshmen and freshmen. So this is a young football team. So, anyway, see what I did? I just went on my own statement. I totally forgot what your question was.
Yeah, I was just, who do you think, which freshmen do you think are going to make the biggest impact? Because obviously a bunch are going to have to play.
Yeah, I really liked Carmoni Green in the spring. He was a totally different kind of receiver than I thought he would be. Like, I thought he was going to be maybe the bigger guy, not Aurelius Ben, but that kind of receiver. And I watched him practice, and like, this guy might return every punt. Like,
Speed.
He might be the starting punt returner as a true freshman. Like, he's got that kind of quick. So I really like Green. Some of the freshman defensive ends are going to play. I really like Bobby Roundtree. I think if you got the coaches to be honest for a moment of the player they're most excited about, like for an NFL future, I think it might be Bobby Roundtree.
Yeah.
Like he just has that kind of long arm, strong enough upper body for a pass rush move. But,
I think it's pretty telling.
Burst off the line.
I think it's pretty telling that the Lovie Smith's first trip to go see a prospect was Bobby Roundtree.
Yes, I agree. And they were, you were there, I was there on the signing day press conference. Like, they couldn't stop talking about it. Like, he was that guy, like, did you see what we did today? Did you see who we landed today? Because, Michigan State was on that kid at the end. Sure, it was down to Illinois, Indiana, because they'd been on him the longest. But Virginia Tech tried to get involved, and Michigan State offered him. And, he's a really, really good defensive end. Now, it takes a while for defensive ends to be ready, but some of these freshmen are just going to have to do it. They're just going to have to be ready. Maybe it's Oladipo, maybe it's Carney, maybe it's Roundtree, but some are going to have to be out there. I think the biggest thing is I think Larry Boyd maybe starts as a true freshman. It's a tall order for an offensive lineman, but especially with Darte Lee getting dismissed and Watkins is gone now and a thin offensive line got thinner, I think they might just turn to Larry Boyd right away and say, okay, kid, what do you got?
Yeah, I just met up with him on Friday morning. He's 6'5", 340, and he looks good. I mean, he's going to have to strengthen up, and he's not going to be ready to play. But I think he can play well. And Jeff Allen did pretty well, and he kind of reminds me of that kid a little bit. Yeah. Ricky Smalling definitely going to play. He probably would have started last year for Illinois. Las Vegas sets the over/under for Illinois next year at 3.5. I expected that, Robert, but what would you take? Over, under that?
Oh, my gosh, that's like dead on my number because I can't tell if it's a 3-win team or a 4-win team. I would probably say over just because some of these teams, there's 5 opponents with new coaches. Minnesota, new coach. Purdue, new coach. Indiana, new coach. Western Kentucky, new coach. South Florida, new coach. At least 2 of those are going to be one of those, what we saw last year, like nothing is ready. It's going to look like Rutgers 2016 kind of a team. Mm-hmm. And, it's just the schemes aren't going to fit, and it's going to be confusing at first and this and that. So I think we might, 2 of those games, we just kind of fall in to win. And then they just need to win 2 other beyond that. So I could see maybe 4 wins. But again, 8 seniors, 13 juniors, 39 freshmen. It's going to be an adventure of youth. So yeah, I would say probably a 3-9 or 4-8 team right now.
So 2 months from training camp, and hopefully that's open again. I think that was good last year that they had it open for fans and for media. What's the first group you're watching?
Probably defensive line, just to see these 7 freshman defensive ends. Some of them are probably going to move to tackle and such, and I kind of want to see how that's going to sort out. Line plays everything, obviously. Yep. So, you lose 5 seniors off the defensive line last year. You probably are pretty okay in the back 7, but you don't know what your defensive line is going to give you. So, I think the whole defense is going to depend on what the DL can do, and then see how Crouch looks with his surgically repaired shoulder and fully cleared is on offense. I'm just going to watch the injury returnees. How's Crouch look? How's Dre Brown look? How's Mikey look? How far back are they from their injury rehab? So those are my first 2 stops.
Yeah, thin offensive line, but more weapons if they're healthy. It'll be interesting to watch. Robert Rosenthal, IlliniBoard.com. Follow him on Twitter at Illini. Robert, always appreciate your time, man.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
Good stuff as always. Robert Rosenthal. Read his stuff, IlliniBoard.com. Yeah, the football recruiting, I know there's a lot of people freaking out, and I do think there are legitimate concerns. I mean, Illinois is off to a slow start. They've missed on some of their top targets. Luke Ford, the Arkansas commit, just decommitted, and now he's getting offers from Michigan, Ohio State and Alabama, and all these big-time schools. He's one of the best players in the country. I was told Illinois it's open for them, but I don't expect them to land him. So for that one, I don't find that too surprising. Io from St. Louis, the linebacker, 4-star linebacker. Illinois was doing really well with him, just had him and his parents up for a visit, and they didn't close. And when you didn't close and you allowed him to go to Texas, most people I talked to said, you're not winning that one. Not if he visits Austin, Texas, and he did, and he committed. He had planned on committing. But, before that, a couple weeks before that, Illinois had a real chance at that. And you're not able to land that, top-tier, statement recruit yet in this class. I do think this staff evaluates really well. Do they recruit? Do they play that game really well yet? I'm not sure. I mean, Thad Ward and Garrick McGee are really experienced recruiters. I think Luke Butkus has been a really good surprise as a recruiter so far for the offensive line, and they're going to need that in this class after losing out or losing a couple players due to the off the field issues. But, does Lovey, does James Kirkland, they play a different game than a lot of people in recruiting, and maybe it works to their benefit. Maybe the longer they evaluate, the longer they have relationships with this kid. I do think I would love for it to work that way, but getting early commits, pressuring kids into committing, it's part of the game that a lot of these schools play. And I wonder if they adjust or they just stick to their game plan. It's going to be interesting to watch. I said it with Robert. I've said it on this show many times. I've written it many times. P.J. Fleck and Lovie Smith couldn't get more different on the recruiting trail. Now, P.J. Fleck has a bunch of commits in the class of 2018. They're all 3 stars, no 4 or 5 stars quite yet, and he's got a top 25 recruiting class right now. And today is June 12th. That's not what matters. It matters what you have on signing day. Lovie Smith and his staff did a really good job last year. Now, he made changes to his recruiting staff. How do they do this year? And I think it's going to end up being closer to 16 to 20 players in this class after, the defections off the field, and there'll probably be more transfers at some point. So it'll be really interesting to watch how different Minnesota and Illinois are, not just in recruiting, but eventually on the field due to that recruiting. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I didn't expect Lovie automatically to get a bunch of 4 and 5 stars. I was surprised at how well they did last year and closing on a lot of their top targets. I wouldn't bet on this again this year, but I do think the staff knows what they want in players, knows what they want in a cornerback. They want long, physical, athletic. Defensive ends, they want long. They err on the side of long and athletic, and I think that's important. It seemed like Tim Beckman, they decided on production in high school, and a lot of their prospects didn't have much beyond the MAC. That's true so far of the prospects here, but Antoine Walker was starting to get Big Ten and SEC interest, and Illinois closed on that one early. So it's just going to be interesting to watch. February 7th is signing day. We got a long way to go before then. I think it's legit to have some concerns. I also think you got to be patient in this kind of process, and it's obvious that Lovie Smith, James Kirkland, and that whole staff are being patient in their evaluation. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap it up with some NBA talk. Matt Silich, Tay and J NBA expert, is going to break down NBA Finals Game 5. Can the Cavs beat this Warriors team twice, and can they do it without a historic performance like they had in Game 4? That's next on the Tay and J Show.
Get strong and stay strong at your Champagne Curves. Ladies, rethink your fitness strategy. Let your Curves coach show you the health and beauty benefits that working out offers. For a limited time, new members can join. Get personal instruction and your best body all summer long for just $10. 30-minute cardio, strength training, stretching, and meal planning can get you where you want to be this season. Curves is for women only. At last, feel free to sweat. Curves, when you just want to work out. Located behind Biaggi's in Champaign. Call or go to curves.com today.
Chicago Cubs are going to be in the World Series, and maybe sooner than we think.
It's our trip to Wrigley Field, Chicago. You can join us on Wednesday, July 5th. The Cubbies take on Tampa Bay at 1:20. Our trip to see the world champion Chicago Cubs. Rooftop tickets and motor coach to Chicago. All your food and beverages are included. Pay online or come by the Stevie J Broadcasting Studios to pay by check. All your details at StevieJ.com. StevieJY.com.
Pekin Insurance and your local independent agent are committed to providing the best coverage options and the best service possible. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at PekinInsurance.com and on social media. Check them out on Facebook at Facebook.com/Pekin Insurance. It's a great way to learn more about insurance for your auto, home, life, or business. You'll stay up to date with important announcements. Plus, they'll throw in a few fun facts along the way. For beyond the expected information, follow Pekin Insurance on Facebook today.
Home is where the art is. It's where every day begins and ends. It's a place for big occasions and small. Home is where stories unfold and where they are told. We may leave, but we always come home again. First Financial Bank can help you achieve the home of your dreams. Talk with one of our friendly loan officers and we'll help you find the loan that's right for you. Consider it our way of saying welcome home. From First Financial Bank, Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.
You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds, or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores to everyone for free, even if you're not a customer. And checking your score won't hurt your credit. We call it the Discover Credit Scorecard. And once you know your score, you should check to see if your current credit card is the best fit for you. Check your credit, compare your card. Go to discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores to everyone for free, even if you're not a customer. And checking your score won't hurt your credit. We call it the Discover Credit Scorecard. And once you know your score, you should check to see if your current credit card is the best fit for you. Check your credit, compare your card. Go to discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
American Cancer Society's Relay for Life is coming to downtown Champaign on Saturday, June 17th.
Survivors plan on joining in on the opening ceremony with Carl, Ameren, and Walgreens to support the event. There's fun activities for the kids, including Joyful Bubbles, Kahuna Ice, and the Sydney Dairy Barn's Moo-Mobile.
June 17th in downtown Champaign's West Side Park. Details on Facebook or head to relayforlife.org/champaign.
Got a question? Talk to our experts at StevieJay.com. Experts are ready to answer your questions for free. Looking for cool trends in clothing or gear as you support area teams? Game Day Spirit is the official fan store of the Fighting Illini. Landscaping tips are also available from Country Arbor's Nursery. New tile or soft surfaces in your home or business? Flooring Surfaces, where the world is at your feet. Experts are available now online at StevieJay.com.
Coach Mike Ditka is not just talking sports. What will he say next? Hear him here Monday and Friday mornings from 7:30 to 8 with Brother Johnny and me, Stevie J, on ESPN Radio 93.5.
Congratulations to Cynthia Chandler from the City of Champaign IT department. She was the winner of our DP Dough office hookup. She won her office for up to 25 people a catered lunch of calzone, salad, and fresh baked cookies from DP Dough. Visit them online at dpdough.com. She named her favorite 76er of all time as Daryl Chocolate Thunder Dawkins. So well done by Cynthia. We'll give those away every week, every Monday on the Tay and J Show until August 7th. It's easy just to text in, give us a fun answer, and you get a chance to win that DP Dough office hookup catered lunch of calzone, salad, and fresh baked cookies for up to 25 people. You can also order online from DP Dough at dpdough.com. Talked a lot of NBA, especially in the first segment today, about Game 5 in the NBA Finals. At least we have some intrigue. The Cavs had a huge game in Game 4, and a historic game, really. And let's get to the Jupiter's The Crossing phone line, talk more about it. Don't forget, Monday is family night at Jupiter's The Crossing. Families who dine in get breadsticks, soft drinks, one large one-topping pizza, and 25 game tokens for just $25. Matt Silich, our Tay and J NBA expert. We're still playing games, so I'm excited that the Cavs and Warriors continue to play phenomenal basketball in front of us. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're still playing games, so I'm happy. I mean, I'm rooting for the Cavs here. I don't care too much who wins as long as there's good basketball. But for there to be any more good basketball, we need the Cavs to win the next couple of games. So I'm hoping to see a Game 7. Let's just ride this all the way out.
That's right. Well, how did the Cavs do that in Game 4? How much of it was a different game plan? What adjustments did they make, and how much of it was just everything going right?
There were a couple adjustments. One of the biggest things that the Cavs did was play Richard Jefferson a little bit more. He provided, I think, even just watching the game, even if you were watching it casual, you could see he was all over the court, really making a lot of hustle plays. And that sort of stuff is sort of overvalued, I think, generally by pretty casual NBA fans. But in this case, it's really important for the Cavs to play with a level of physicality and just an aggressiveness on the court, because they have the ability to overwhelm the Warriors a little bit when they get going. And I think that was certainly the case for this game. Steph Curry never really got anything going. He was 4 for 13 on the day, and 13 shots is way too few for him. He needs to, be up above 20-plus shots a game. So I think there were just a couple small changes that they made, and then on top of that, the Cavs just, they just shot the lights out. They were incredible shooting-wise, and, put those two things together, and you get a pretty great game and a great win for the Cavs.
I couldn't watch it, or I was listening to it in the car on the way home from St. Louis, man. I couldn't listen to that and think, man, if they'd only won Game 3.
Oh yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. Just this could be 2-2 right now, and I think we never really saw the Warriors get tested by anyone, throughout this playoffs. Obviously, they had 15 straight wins to start the playoffs, and so, of course, tested that much.
Yeah.
But even the Spurs were supposed to give them a game, and they couldn't because Kawhi Leonard got hurt in the middle of Game 1, and they lost that huge lead they'd built up. So it was really nice in Game 3 to finally see someone challenge the Warriors. It would have been even better if they could have taken that one and then just, finally we have a series instead of what now is, it's kind of a series. I know we're where we were last year, but this Warriors team is also better than they were last year. So it's sort of hard to expect this to go further. But I do think what a fun last couple games we've had.
He's Matt Silich, Tay and J NBA expert. You can follow him on Twitter at @msilich2. So we didn't get the Warriors sweep. And the Cavs did come back from 3-1 last year. It'd be an amazing feat and it'd be definitely cementing LeBron's legacy. Not that he needs any more if he comes back from 3-0. But what do you think going into tonight? What do you think the Warriors are going to do? Because obviously they've been in this situation before and puckered up a little bit.
One of the things about Coach Steve Kerr is that he's very hesitant to make adjustments. And it's really strange because he's so aggressive in sort of he was so aggressive a couple years ago when he came to Golden State in creating a culture immediately and setting sort of a list of standards for the team. And, they really created a great locker room culture. They created a great X's and O's strategy as well. Yeah. And he tends to just stick to that base, though. He doesn't really make a lot of in-game adjustments. He tends to fall back on some of the things he likes to do. Like he always likes to have a big in, which in this case, in this series would be Pachulia, McGee, or David West. He likes to just fall back on that. And I think he needs to be a little bit more radical for them to give themselves the best shot at winning Game 5. Obviously, they have so much talent, it might not matter anyway. But I think they'll probably go to the death lineup, which is their 4 key players, their 4 starters. You put Draymond, slide him up to center, and then you put in Andre Iguodala off the bench. Iguodala's been a little bit hurt, so I don't know if he's totally up to a lot of minutes in that scenario because he's usually guarding LeBron James. But I think we'll see the Warriors go to that a little bit more frequently tonight. Kerr tends to change his strategy to the best option available once the Warriors sort of have their backs against the wall. And I think given how last year went, they're going to be kind of terrified of losing that 3-1 lead again. Yeah. And so they'll probably go to it a little bit earlier.
He's Matt Silich, or Tay and J NBA expert. Follow him on Twitter at @msilich2. Who's been the best player in the series so far?
For my money, it's LeBron James because he's doing more with less than Kevin Durant is. Kevin Durant probably has, the best overall stat lines. He's been an unbelievable scorer. He's been getting the line. He's been getting assists, and his defense has been absolutely phenomenal. And I don't think you could say that last part for LeBron James, who, has had to expend so much effort on the offensive end that he hasn't really been able to, play at his usual defensive level when he's a little bit less challenged. But I do think LeBron is clearly the greatest offensive force in this series. Kyrie has, made a pitch for it the last couple of games, but his defense still really isn't up to snuff. And, the first 2 games he was, really, really struggled and cost Cleveland a shot to win in Golden State. So I do think LeBron has been the best. And, man, if they come back, you're absolutely right. Like, he is cementing a legacy that he doesn't need to do much more than he already has to be a top 2 player of all time. But, then if he were to win this series, I think everyone would have to consider him for number 1.
Is it ridiculous to have who would you rather have, Steph or Kyrie?
I am I'm not as huge a Kyrie fan as a lot of people are. I think that when he is on, he is probably one of the most unstoppable players in the entire league. I mean, 1-on-1, this guy is pretty much unguardable.
He's got some Iverson to him.
He absolutely does. I think that's actually a great example. I mean, if you're wondering what sort of a modern Iverson in the pace and space 3-point shooting era would look like, I think that is Kyrie. That absolutely is. He has the handles. He has the shooting ability. He has that sort of swagger. But I think his defense is a little bit too costly, and Steph is actually a little bit better on that end. And the other thing with Steph is that I think he's more consistent game to game throughout a regular season and throughout the playoffs in just providing you with just, incredible shooting performances. He can entirely swing games. So I think Steph is probably better around the margins, creating key turnovers, playing just better positional defense. But Kyrie, when he's on, he's an unstoppable force.
Yeah, a lot of pressure's been taken off Steph with Durant being there, but last year's NBA Finals performance wasn't great. What have you thought of him so far in this series?
He's been good. I mean, his stats have been great. I think before Game 4, he was averaging like a near triple-double. So it's not like he has been, not the Steph we're accustomed to. He's even been rebounding the ball a little bit better than we're accustomed to seeing from him. He's been passing a little bit better. He had 10 assists in Game 4. So he's been fine. It's hard for a player to really stand out if you're with your Steph, you're kind of deferring a little bit more naturally to Draymond Green and to Kevin Durant and to Klay Thompson when you have all these talented players on your team. So I kind of understand why he hasn't had that breakout, knocking down 35-foot shots game that we would see from him potentially last year, other than the finals when he had a pretty tough finals, potentially due to injury. But I think Steph has been good. I don't think he's been transcendent, but I think he's been good. He's just not quite at the level in this series of Kevin Durant and LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, he's hanging around a triple-double. He's been pretty good. So X factor, Matt, that you think is going to be the biggest one tonight?
Ooh, let's see. I would say probably Steve Kerr is actually probably a good pick because I just am nervous about his ability to make adjustments because Cleveland has gotten better every single game. I mean, they are, improving in how they assess Golden State's defense. They're making adjustments on the fly. They're getting better at this. And you certainly cannot say the same for Golden State. I mean, every single game, their margin of victory, I think, has gotten worse, except maybe game 2 they won by more than game 1. But regardless, I think Cleveland is putting up more of a challenge every time. And, it makes me think that they need Steve Kerr to really devote himself to their best lineups. When the Death lineup has played this series with Draymond at center, they have let up only 70 points per 100 possessions, which for reference, I think the worst offense in the league this year was something like 95 to 100 points per 100 possessions. That was the Sixers, who have been awful. So they're playing incredible defense. And on top of that, they're getting 140 points per 100 possessions on the offensive end. That's incredible. That's far better than the best offense in league history when they have the Death lineup with Draymond Green at center and Iguodala out there. So clearly this lineup in 17 minutes this series has been incredible. They need to just play it for maybe 17 minutes in this one game, and I think they can probably put it away.
Matt Silich, Tay and J NBA expert. I got two bigger picture ones. One's a little shorter, and that's if the Cavs win Game 5, what do you think that means for the series?
I think it means we're going 7. It's 2. I know it's kind of romantic to say, well, if they go home, there's no way they can lose Game 6.
Right.
But it really does feel that way, right? Like, after the 3-1 last year, they have this incredible comeback. It just feels like, it's almost destiny. If they're going to win tonight, I have to feel like they're going to take it to 7. I don't know if they can win the series because even last year, Game 7 was so close, came down to just a 3-point shot at the end on a, frankly, pretty terrible play that, kind of a questionable shot by Kyrie Irving, but it went in, so you can't get mad at him for it. But I certainly, in my heart, my mind is saying it might not even matter if the Cavs win tonight because Golden State's still better. They can probably win Game 6. But in my heart, I really think that we're going 7 if the Cavs can pull it out tonight.
Man, I want it. Okay, if the Warriors close it out, as I expect them to do, I'll ask you for your prediction at the end here. But if the Warriors close tonight out, what's that mean for the NBA and for teams that are looking to contend? Do they change their plans? I mean, what's the ramifications of the Warriors winning this and returning the same team for the next couple of years?
Well, I think it actually, the last 2 games, I think have made a difference in this answer because I think after games 1 and 2, when it's such a blowout and the Cavs looked like they really could do nothing because even LeBron was already still playing well. Kevin Love was playing well the first 2 games and they couldn't get in the game. I think given that, after those 2 games, you probably thought, okay, the Cavs are going to have to do something. They might have to trade Kevin Love. They might have to even trade Kyrie Irving. I don't think they would do that, but they would have to consider it. They would have to consider all these different options. But now I'm not so sure. I mean, they've shown the last 2 games that they can hang with this team. Maybe they can't beat them 4 out of 7. But if you give yourself this good of a shot, you have to feel better about your prospects going forward. And I think that maybe they're more likely, the Cavs, who are really the only other title contender outside of the West, who they probably have the Spurs, and I don't think the Clippers could do it, but probably the Spurs are the one team, and maybe Houston. So I think the Cavs now can reasonably say they have a shot to win 4 out of 7 if they get a little bit lucky and they play really well. And so I think that actually these last 2 games have made it likely that even if Golden State wins tonight, we might not see as radical of an offseason as we thought we might a couple of weeks ago.
Who you got tonight, Matt?
I got the Warriors. It's hard to pick against them. I think if they lose tonight, I'm going to start getting very worried. I think all the 3-1 jokes will be absolutely deserved because clearly this team has some sort of a mental block on finishing out a series. However, I do think they're going to finish it. I think Kerr will probably optimize his lineups a little bit more, play JaVale McGee a little bit less, play Zaza hopefully a little bit less. And when you just need one game, you can really go all out for that game. I mean, even in Game 4, Draymond and Kevin Durant were the only ones to play over 38 minutes for the Warriors. They can stretch their starters more, and I think they will do it tonight. I think they'll try to close it out at home, and I think they'll succeed.
Matt Silich, Tay and J NBA expert. You can follow him on Twitter at MSilich2. Thanks for your time, Matt. Hopefully we'll be talking about a Game 6 here in a couple days.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. I hope so.
Yeah, that's good stuff from Matt Silich. Follow him on Twitter at @msilich2. He's a great follow during the games and obviously knows his NBA stuff. Thanks to our other guest today, Jeff Ellis, Scout.com, lead MLB draft analyst. Thanks to Robert Rosenthal, IlliniBoard.com. And thanks to our interns, Jack Long, Jacob Diaz, Maddie Bunton, David Morrow, and Harry Black. If you missed any of the show, get the podcast, ESPNCU.com, or follow us on iTunes, and you can download them. They can automatically go to your phone or your iTunes or whatever you have. You can do that. Just search Tay and J Show. Thanks to Cart for filling in. We'll be on late tomorrow, maybe only an hour show due to Cardinals baseball. Maybe Lonte will be back. Maybe he won't. Just get better, Lon. We'll see you tomorrow. It's the Tay and J Show.
Hi, I'm Troy Lands from Lands Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. For a limited time, Lands is offering special financing for 6 years or up to $1,000 trade-in allowance. Your choice, with approved credit on any qualifying train system. So call Lands at 1-800-AIR-REPAIR for details, or find us online at landsinc.com. And remember, it's hard to stop a train. I'm Troy Lands. You can count on my company because you can count on me.
See Lands or visit train.com for complete program eligibility dates, details, and restrictions.
During warm weather, you need your AC to keep you cool. See your Champagne CarX man right now for an air conditioning performance check starting at $29.99. At CarX Tire and Auto, we can handle everything your car needs from maintenance to repair. And we'll get your air conditioning running perfectly just in time for summer. So don't sweat it. See your CarX man at any of our 3 Champagne locations for a $29.99 air conditioning performance check. All your car needs is CarX Tire and Auto.
Don't worry, call the CarX man.
You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds, or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores to everyone for free, even if you're not a customer. And checking your score won't hurt your credit. We call it the Discover Credit Scorecard. And once you know your score, you should check to see if your current credit card is the best fit for you. Check your credit, compare your card. Go to discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
Hi, I'm Damon Hackelman, owner of CleanRite in Champaign. If you're looking for a trusted restoration service company, just look for the guys in the blue trucks. At CleanRite, we understand that life happens, and we're ready to help. Our experienced service technicians will provide you with not only a quick response, but also honest answers and advice. For water, fire, smoke, or mold restoration, we're there when you need us. Call CleanRite today at 351-4930. That's 351-4930. Or just Google CleanRite Champaign.
Guidance, trust, protection, service. It's the mantra of GTPS Insurance. When you work with GTPS, you'll never have to call an 800 number in a different state. You deal with people who live and work in our community and know it's important to your business. GTPS is your local source for business insurance, property, general liability, workers' compensation, and group health insurance, and they'll work with you to formulate the best package for the needs of you and your business. Contact a GTPS insurance agent today at 359-9000 or visit online at gtpsinsurance.com.
Oh, hey, hi, hello there. It's me, your air conditioner. You can call me AC if you want, but Mr. Conditioner is my dad's name. Okay, listen, you may have noticed that I'm using a lot of energy right now, and that's why you need to call an expert. Yep, the experts can give me a precision tune-up, so you'll save up to 30% on energy bills, and I won't have to work so hard, which is great because I'm about to pass out.
At Chief Power Service Experts, save $41 off an AC Precision Tune-Up. Call 866-EXPERTS or visit chiefpower.com. For expert service guaranteed.
Call 866-EXPERTS.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the